Chapter 1000. Right when the flying locust demon commander was about to breach the city, the woman's figure vanished from the slope outside the Clear River Prefecture. All that was left was the rustling of the night wind. Amidst the chaotic streets, the way she moved reminded one of the word wandering. She evaded all the obstacles silently and swiftly. Her body blended into the surrounding scenery. Be it humans or locusts, they could not see her. A large swarm of insects blocked her path. She turned around and stepped into a remote alleyway. A locust suddenly rushed towards her. It carried a child with its 6 legs as it wailed aloud. "My child! My child!" With a miserable cry, a disheveled woman rushed out of the main entrance without any regard, chasing after the locust. The woman tilted her body slightly and brushed past the locust. The locust bit the child, and blood spurted. A droplet of blood stopped in the air and landed on the woman's cheek, like a red mole. She smiled and extended her tongue to lick away the blood. She cast the cries from the alleyway behind her and arrived near the Hawk-Wolf Guard very soon. She exhaled gently, and her aura became even deeper. She slowed down a lot again. She happened to see the eagle forged from copper fall from the top of the building, producing a great rumble and kicking up a cloud of dust. Hua Qinglu retreated into the center of the room, if it could still be called a room, below the small, golden bell. "Don't be afraid, little treasure. I won't kill you." The flying locust demon commander stepped into the room and made his way towards her. As he spoke, his mandibles opened and closed. With a thunk, a golden bell constructed from spiritual light enveloped Hua Qinglu. The bell chimed melodiously. The flying locust demon commander placed his claws on the golden bell, and the chimes immediately twisted. The golden bell twisted and ripped apart as well. He suddenly swung his right claw. "Get out here!" Determination filled Hua Qinglu's eyes. They shone with dazzling light, vaguely resembling a blooming sunflower. "You want to die? It won't be that easy. What is this?" The flying locust demon commander's movements stiffened. He lowered his head and looked down. A beautiful, tiny snake had pierced through the floor and bit his ankle, accompanied by intense pain. In the deep darkness outside the building, a pair of eyes suddenly lit up. A thin pupil in the golden whites of the eyes met the compound eyes of the flying locust demon commander. His body was dyed with a layer of gray, as if he was about to turn into stone. Viper hell! With a hair-raising hiss, countless snakes shot out of the darkness and bit the flying locust demon commander. "Ah!" The flying locust demon marshal howled, feeling the pain that penetrated deep into his soul. "Sister Qinglu, now is not the time to seek death." Qian Rongji walked out of the darkness and stepped into the broken room. Her snake eyes made her smile a little scary. "Big Sister Qian, you've come so quickly." Hua Qinglu was surprised. It still took her some time to get here from the Rui Commandery. "Sister Qinglu is in trouble, so of course I have to be quick," Qian Rongji said. "You and this city are both very good bait. Bitch, you're courting death." The flying locust demon commander shuddered, and the grayish-white petrification collapsed. With a roar, he turned around and lunged at Qian Rongji. Even the coiling snakes were unable to restrain him. Qian Rongji's pupils returned to normal, and 2 streaks of bloody tears rolled down her cheeks. She had suffered a backlash from the technique. She thought, he really is a great demon king after all. His willpower is startlingly great. He can maintain such mobility in the Viper Hell. "Be careful!" Hua Qinglu called out. If a golden core cultivator was approached by a powerful carapace demon commander, there would basically be no good outcome. However, the flying locust demon commander paused and lowered his head in disbelief. Qian Rongji gently pressed her hand against his chest. The heaven-climbing vine penetrated his tough carapace, reaching into every corner of his body. Qian Rongji closed her eyes and revealed a joyful expression. Endless power surged into her body. Even the pain from the snake subsided. If the locusts had come here to massacre the city and eat the people, then she had come to eat the flying locust demon commander. I'll remember you. The flying locust demon commander said viciously. With a thump, his body collapsed, kicking up a cloud of dust. He was even lighter than she had imagined, as if he was just an empty shell. He no longer possessed the slightest hint of life. Thank you, Sister Qian. Hua Qinglu thanked her politely. Qian Rongji had a very good reputation in the Rui Commandery, and she had always been kind and gentle to people. However, after the wisdom imbuement, she always developed an instinctive sense of vigilance, or perhaps fear, towards Qian Rongji. Just like how a newborn calf did not fear a tiger, only the ignorant could be fearless. The wisdom that the Banyan Tree King had shared with her allowed her to distinguish many dangers that regular people could not sense. You're welcome. Qian Rongji smiled. The tiny snakes slithered back onto her skin, slipping under the White Wolf Commander's uniform. Suddenly, she turned around and said, "The person you've been waiting for has arrived." Boom! A black figure descended from the sky, and Li Qingshan emerged from the cloud of dust. Qinglu, are you fine? Big brother Li, I'm fine. Sister Qian saved me. Hua Qinglu made her way over. Qian Rongji. Li Qingshan frowned and gazed at Qian Rongji. He never thought she would actually undergo the second heavenly tribulation too. Long time no see, Qingshan. Qian Rongji greeted him warmly. Her face brimmed with a warm smile, but she felt a powerful pressure, as if a vicious tiger was staring at her. Don't smile at me. Li Qingshan said. Sorry, I forgot. Qian Rongji's smile vanished as well. She gave off a cold aura and asked, What do you mean? Hua Qinglu was taken aback. Hua Qinglu was taken aback. She had never seen Qian Rongji act like that before. She drew closer to Li Qingshan instinctively. No problem. Li Qingshan glanced at the corpse of the flying locust demon commander on the ground. Just like many years ago, there was no need for empty thanks between them. All they needed was an actual exchange of benefits. Li Qingshan did not want to owe this woman a favor either. Let's talk about it later. Although I don't mind looking at this a little longer. Qian Rongji gazed out of the building. The noisy night had yet to pass. Many places were lit up. The locust army in the city had already collapsed. They hunted with their instincts to devour flesh and blood. When the flying locust demon commander was slain, they had retreated from all their clones and fled in all directions. As a result, Li Qingshan played the role of savior again. However, this time, his Azura field could only suck away the locusts on the streets. Most of the locusts were hunting humans in the buildings, so he was forced to engage in even more complicated battles in the streets. He was powerful, but he could not help but feel rather restrained. With a thought, Yin Qing descended from the sky with a group of Azura and began a search through the entire city. Only then did they manage to stop the mad slaughter of the locusts. Afterwards, the 100 schools of thought sent reinforcements, and Begonia rushed over as well. They busied themselves for most of the night before cleaning up all the locusts in the city. Their corpses piled up like mountains. Begonia maintained a cold and distant relationship with Li Qingshan. She began rebuilding the formations, so she definitely could not leave as she pleased. Li Qingshan gazed at the eastern sky that was about to brighten. He could not help but grind his teeth in hatred. He should not have spent the night like this. He decided to return to the Chain Mountains first and get Little N to use the Buddha-slaying sword to cut down the damned clones of the Soaring Locust King. However, he was stopped by Qian Rongji again. He said impatiently, "What do you want? Hurry up and say it." Chapter 1001. The morning light landed on Qian Rongji's white clothes. She had given up on her arts of charm a long time ago, but she possessed a brand new luster that surpassed anything in the past. "What do you want to do?" Li Qingshan was rather surprised. "What do you think I can do?" Qian Rongji answered with a question. No matter what she did, she always had a clear objective, but right now, she felt rather lost. She just wanted to see him, but she had no idea why. Do you know what kind of opportunity you've wasted? Why don't you keep it simple and tell me what you want? Li Qingshan said. I don't lack this opportunity. If you turn me down, then forget I said anything, Qian Rongji said. You want to see her, but she might not want to see you. Then please tell her that whether she wants to see me or not, we're even now. Li Qingshan glanced at Qian Rongji deeply and nodded. All right, I'll tell her. Thank you. I'll wait for her at the 100 schools of thought. I'll help you watch over your woman as well. In order to prevent the soaring Locust King from making a comeback again, she had to remain in the Clear River Prefecture for a while and wait for the construction of the new protective formation to be completed. Since you've said that, don't blame me for holding you accountable if anything happens to her. With that, Li Qingshan took off, returning to the Chain Mountains and the Qingshao dwelling. Little N was still puzzled over how he had returned so quickly, so he listened to Li Qingshan explain what had happened. The soaring Locust King is the cream of the crop both in terms of strength and strategy. It's no wonder the Locust Plague has lasted for so long. I'll definitely kill him. Li Qingshan's anger had yet to subside. His killing intent overflowed. His hatred towards the soaring Locust King had almost surpassed his hatred towards the Dragon King of the Sea. Although the Dragon King of the Sea had killed him once, it was only a regular battle between cultivators. He did not have to be so disgusting. Father, I'll help you. Ouch! As soon as the little phoenix called out, he was bitten viciously by the skeleton demon again. His feathers ruffled. Brat, let's talk after you pass the trial. Li Qingshan smiled, before saying to little N, help me vent my anger first. Kill this demon commander clone of his, then kill all of his clones. I'll show him just how powerful I am. He summoned the demon-suppressing pagoda and said to the flying locust demon marshal, how is it? You lost again, right? Fight me. Li Qingshan, consider yourself lucky this time. Next time, you might not be so lucky. The soaring Locust King replied immediately, his tone full of threat. Cut the crap, your time of death has come. Death? You killed one of my doppelgangers, but I still have thousands and thousands of doppelgangers. One day, I'll eat you alive, bite by bite. The soaring Locust King laughed maniacally. Little N's sword pierced through the body of the flying locust demon marshal. Legend has it that in order to deliver all living beings from suffering, Buddha incarnated himself into billions of forms. He was both 10,001. And this sword was the Buddha-slaying sword. Even if it could slay 10,000, it could also slay one. In an instant, tens of thousands of miles away, an identical sword scar appeared on the back of the soaring Locust King. A dense aura of death lingered on it, not only preventing the wound from healing, it was also rapidly spreading in all directions. What sword is this? The soaring Locust King was shocked and furious. In the past, even if his clone was reduced to ashes, it wouldn't be able to harm a single hair on his body. Now, not only was his main body injured, it was also quite serious. The sword that killed you. Do you really think that I can't do anything to you just because you have so many avatars? Li Qingshan laughed heartily, venting his anger. After Little N assassinated the flying locust demon marshal, he attacked again and again, killing the flying locust demon generals one by one. The soaring locust king's original body was riddled with wounds. He gritted his teeth and said, Li Qingshan, consider yourself ruthless. Let's wait and see. The flying locust clones that were entangled in chains immediately stopped moving. He cut off his connection with these clones. Little N put down the Buddha-slaying sword. What a pity. It would be great if I could kill him like this. Li Qingshan said. However, he knew that he was thinking too much. Even if he stabbed the soaring locust king's main body with a sword, it would be difficult to take his life. There will be a chance. The sword wounds on his body won't recover so quickly. I can try to divine his location. However, Little N tried to divine, but the result was very vague. Her divination technique could no longer keep up with her current cultivation, and the other party's realm was also there. There's no rush. I'll kill him sooner or later. Li Qingshan left some locusts for Ru Xian to use as experimental subjects, and gave the rest to Little N to refine. Although the locusts were weak, their numbers were too large. They piled up into small mountains in the Azura field. Although the number of locusts in the second locust plague was only a tenth of the first, the number of people who lost their lives to the locusts was close to 1 million. Li Qingshan also collected these locusts' corpses, which was equivalent to indirectly becoming Little N's resources. Their value was no less than the first locust plague. Although it was a little strange, Li Qingshan was not that unreasonable. On the other hand, Little N put her palms together and silently chanted for a while. Only then did she wave the samadhi flames of white bone and devour the mountains of corpses. For the current her, this was a timely rain. After passing through 3 heavenly tribulations, other than the Buddha-slaying sword that had been improved, the skull prayer beads and blood sea banner that should have become stronger were in a half-useless state. It was just right to use this sum of resources to repair them. Only then could her strength reach its peak. However, she made a rough estimate. Although this amount of resources could be said to be vast, she was afraid that she could only repair one of the white bone treasures to a perfect state. After thinking for a while, she decided to start with the skull prayer beads. The blood sea banner could form a space of its own and trap enemies within it. However, its functions overlapped with the Azura field, so it was not as practical as the skeleton demon formation formed by the skull prayer beads. Thus, with a wave of his hand, the skull prayer beads scattered and transformed into skulls in midair. They spun around and cackled strangely. The skeleton devil that was fighting with the small phoenix also transformed into a skull and entered the skull prayer beads. However, other than it, the other skulls all had some cracks on them. Some had broken horns, while others had broken teeth. The Buddha-slaying sword led the way, and the samadhi flames of white bone soared up. The skulls took in large gulps, and the cracks slowly healed. The little phoenix retreated to the bottom of the mountain and gazed at the blazing samadhi flames of white bone, instinctively feeling fear. Very soon, Daddy will take you out to play. Li Qingshan patted the little phoenix's shoulder and also arrived in a corner of the dwelling, beginning to cultivate. He was not practicing the 9 transformations of the demonic and divine, but the demon suppression statuary. The 9 transformations of the demonic and divine had reached a new bottleneck. It would be difficult for him to break through again in a short amount of time, but the demon suppression statuary was a new fortuitous encounter. After becoming a demon king, his demonic nature had strengthened a step further, laying down a firm foundation for tempering his demon heart. Moreover, he still possessed the demon hearts of many demon kings as resources. Everything was ready. Although he only knew the first 8 layers of the demon suppression statuary, as the peak cultivation method of the Chan monastery of Devanaga, as long as he could master the first 8 layers, it would be enough for him to reach the realm of demon king. Chapter 1002. In the pitch-black belly of the mountain, demon chi surged below, while bone fire surged above. The demon chi contained endless malice and malice, while the bone fire contained countless wailing faces. It was quite the sight of evil and demonic cultivation. The little phoenix turned back into human form and stared at this blankly. Suddenly, he felt an urge to go home. The outside world was far too dangerous, and the 2 people beside him were even more dangerous among dangerous people. If it were not for the fact that they did evil unintentionally, the damage they could cause in the human world would definitely be no less than the soaring Locust King. He shook his head forcefully. If he could be frightened by something like this, then what was the point of leaving Fire Melt Mountain? He would be better off staying in the phoenix's nest for the rest of his life before beginning a new round of trials. The content of the trials was to use his own willpower to resist the terrifying mental pressure. All of the skull prayer beads were repaired. The skulls began to spit out samadhi flames of white bone instead. The roaring flames constantly condensed, contracted, and collapsed, condensing into a new skull prayer bead. Li Qingshan stood right below. His robust body was enveloped by demon qi, like a demon suppression tower. Suddenly, he began to move, constantly changing his posture and figure. He moved extremely slowly, pulling in the surging demon qi. With every movement, he would leave behind an afterimage. Just now, it had dispersed. It was the appearance of the demon suppression statues, but upon closer inspection, they seemed slightly different. It lacked the painful struggle of the demon suppression statues, but there was a sense of recklessness and wildness. The former was constantly suppressing and controlling himself, while the latter was releasing everything and doing whatever he wanted. He followed the normal order at first, going from the first to the eighth, and then from the eighth to the first. After repeating this over 1,000 times, his entire body shuddered with demon qi and completely messed up the order. He jumped from the first to the seventh, and then back to the fourth. His movements became more and more sluggish, but the little phoenix felt an even greater pressure. He resisted the urge to retreat, gritting his teeth and enduring silently. Gradually, Li Qingshan's movements became smoother and smoother, reaching a level where he could move them freely. However, his brows were still tightly furrowed. He felt that something was off. After a moment of thought, his demon suppression statuary had deviated from the normal direction. The first layer should have been initial remorse of the demon heart, but what he comprehended was remorseless demon heart. At that time, he had already condensed the deep sea pearl and reached the second heavenly tribulation realm, so he didn't feel any changes. But when he tried to use the demon suppression statuary to break through a major realm, he immediately felt the immense difficulty. It wasn't easy to break away from the mold of the predecessors and carve out a path of one's own. The cultivation method left behind by the predecessors could not be understood however you wanted. Instead, you had to try your best to match the intentions of the predecessors in order to master the cultivation method. Little N's changes to the path of white bone and great beauty allowed Buddhism and the demonic to coexist, and there was even a possibility that it suited the white bone bodhisattva's intentions. After all, the white bone bodhisattva had been a Buddhist powerhouse throughout her long life, and the path of white bone and great beauty was basically built upon her Buddhist cultivation. However, it was impossible for the demon folk who created the demon suppression statuary to have a remorseless demon heart. Otherwise, why the hell would he create a cultivation method? All he had to do was work as a demon folk, an occupation with a very promising future. This was equivalent to an article. Not only did the reader fail to understand the author's intentions, but they even had completely opposing thoughts, so it was very difficult for them to immerse themselves in it. All they could do was give up on reading it and read it through reluctantly, but they would not be able to understand its essence. The more powerful the cultivation method was, the more difficult the article would be. If they wanted to understand its essence, they would need greater ability to comprehend, or they would be able to connect with the author. The cultivation community was full of things like this. A minor cultivator with mediocre ability to comprehend, or even mediocre talent, would suddenly soar up after obtaining a powerful cultivation method. This was not just because the cultivation method was powerful, but because the reader and the author were connected. This was why it was very difficult for future generations to reach the heights of the creator when they practiced a cultivation method. No one's temperament and circumstances were exactly the same. However, Li Qingshan did not possess Little N's ability to comprehend the demon suppression statuary forcefully. It was impossible for him to change his mood and connect with the demon folk, much less give up on the demon suppression statuary. All he could do was reach a special bottleneck. He took out the Azura field again and stepped into it, arriving in an even vaster world. He bellowed out, "Demon suppression!" Swish! Chains of demon suppression flew out, wrapping around him firmly. Still not enough. Boom! The demon suppression tower descended from above, pressing down on him and trapping him. He was basically immobilized. The first thing the demon suppression statuary suppressed was his inner demons. What allowed him to break free from the chains and smash through the tower was not strength or abilities, but the resolve in his heart. Only true resolve could assist him in practicing the demon suppression statuary. Time passed by in a hurry. Little N's skull prayer beads condensed one by one. He had already surpassed his original number, advancing towards a higher realm of cultivation. The demon suppression tower stood on the blood-red ground like a lone mountain, trembling gently and rumbling. Under the restraints of the chains, Li Qingshan sweated profusely as he danced about with everything he had. He gritted his teeth. His face was twisted, and his movements did not change at all, but the resolve he sought never arrived. Initial remorse of the demon heart, initial remorse of the demon heart, initial remorse of the demon heart. He repeated inside before finally cursing, remorse my ass. He did not feel like he needed to feel remorse. This was not because he was particularly powerful, but because he was not born as a demon folk. He possessed normal human nature in the first place, so he did not need to struggle against his innate instincts like the demon folk. After calming down and thinking about it, this kind of struggle was basically a form of betrayal. It was just like how the fire devourers insisted on switching to a water cultivation method. Even he could not help but admire them. My master is also a human. Not only is his bloodline purer than mine, but his human nature is probably much better too. How did he do it? Li Qingshan muttered to himself. He knew the unraging monk had used the demon suppression statuary to break through the third heavenly tribulation, which left him very confused. Qingshan, the unraging monk, is devoted to Buddhism, but he also abhors evil. Afterwards, he lost himself in the slaughter. By the time he came to his senses, his hatred was no longer limited to external enemies, but also his murderous and evil self. He obviously needs to feel remorse for this. Little N's voice suddenly rang out. I see. Then I'm done for. Li Qingshan grinned. The demon folk wanted to possess human nature, while the unraging monk wanted to become an eminent monk of great virtue. Both of them had higher pursuits, which was why they regretted the various demonic thoughts in their hearts. However, he was only a mortal. He had love and hate, emotions and desires. Good and evil were one, both divine and demonic. Although he liked to do whatever he wanted, he had his own set of principles. Everything he had done in his life could not be described as having a clear conscience, but he believed he had done his best. He felt good about himself, which was why he had no regrets. But if he had no regrets, why did he need to suppress demons? Chapter 1003. Trapped in one's own web. Li Qingshan immediately thought of this phrase. Then, he sat under the demon suppression tower and pondered for 3 days and 3 nights, but he still could not come up with a solution. Little N was also helpless. Unless he abandoned the demon suppression statuary and cultivated in a different cultivation method, how could he hope for the same result if he planted a different seed? On the 4th day, the demon suppression chains clanked. Li Qingshan stood up and said impatiently, forget it. Can't I break through and become a demon king if I can't comprehend the demon suppression statuary? Li Qingshan took out a handful of demon hearts. These demon hearts were crystal clear and contained boundless demonic energy. They were the spoils of war from wiping out the demons in southern border, the demon king's heart. The demonic nature contained in these demon king's hearts were all different, but they did not lack malice or slaughter. He wanted to extract the portion of power that was compatible with his demon heart and then prove his Tao through strength, forcefully breaking through to the demon king realm. He waved his hand, and the demon hearts of various shapes and colors floated around him, glowing with a faint demonic light. Little N had already completely erased their spirituality, so he did not have to worry about any backlash. The only thing he had to worry about was cultivation deviation, and Li Qingshan was about to. As the demon hearts lit up, the demon suppression tower grew 10 times larger, like a towering mountain, suppressing all demonic energy. Li Qingshan's shoulders sank as he felt the pressure increase, but he stood there steadily, not moving at all. With his ox demon strength, How could he be suppressed by a demon suppression tower? He opened his mouth and inhaled. Streams of demonic energy surged out of the demon hearts and surged into his mouth, rampaging through his body like a surging flood. If he was just a demon general, his body would have exploded and he would have died. How could proving one's Tao through strength be so fun? However, as a demon king, his body was extremely tough, like the sturdiest dam. The torrent of demonic energy could only surge within it, and the demonic chi on his body continued to rise, becoming stronger and stronger. The demon suppression chains grew thicker and thicker, locking down all the joints in his body firmly, almost drowning his figure. Li Qingshan did not care. As he sucked in large mouthfuls of demonic energy, he forcefully circulated the demon suppression statuary and guided the surging demonic energy into his demonic heart. Ka-cha! His demon heart shone brilliantly, but cracks appeared on it. Although his body was strong, his demon heart wasn't that strong. It was unable to withstand this immense force and was about to explode. Spirit turtle suppresses the seas. Li Qingshan remained unmoved. He shouted in a low voice. The figure of the spirit turtle appeared above the demon heart and shone with faint light. It easily suppressed the demon heart, using external force to forcefully maintain the stability of the demon heart. He didn't care whether he was aware of it or not. He just wanted to force himself on her, piling up the quantity to cause a qualitative change. Ordinary cultivators wouldn't dare to do this. However, he was best at using force, and he had the capital to do so. The demonic energy surges. The light armor on Li Qingshan's body spreads continuously, covering his entire body. His body turned into a suit of heavy armor again. Other than the bull's horns on the armor and the tiger's head on the breastplate, it had completely changed its appearance. There was a hideous ghost face on the visor. It constantly twisted and changed, making various expressions. As the demonic energy constantly surged in, the armor became even heavier. In the end, it no longer seemed like armor, but more like a mecha from a sci-fi movie. It collided with the chains of demon suppression, producing the sound of metal grinding against metal. If there's a problem that power can't resolve, then it must be because your power isn't great enough. This saying might not have been applicable on Earth in his past life. The laws of birth, death, sickness, and death could not be resisted no matter how much power or wealth one possessed. However, it was the truth in this world of cultivators. As long as they were powerful enough, the laws of the world could still be trampled underfoot. Right now, Li Qingshan was using his own strength as a foundation to cultivate in a way that others would never even dare to imagine. The cracks on the demon heart were already as dense as a spider's web, completely maintained by external force. However, he continued to devour the demonic energy, making the cracks even denser, splitting the demon heart into even finer grains of sand. As his demon chi grew slightly stronger, the pressure from the demon suppression tower and the restraints from the chains of demon suppression grew slightly stronger, turning into a dead knot. However, while the demonic nature of the enemy was stronger, the demon suppression statuary would be even more powerful. Even if the unraging monk tossed out the demon suppression tower, he would not be able to suppress demon god Qiongqi. Everything had a limit. Using the demon king's heart as a foundation, Li Qingshan pushed the demon suppression statuary to such an extreme very soon. A crack suddenly appeared on the towering demon suppression tower. He snickered and continued to refine the demonic energy. The crack spread across the entire tower very soon. By now, Li Qingshan had already turned into an armored monster over 100 meters tall. He no longer cared about the appearance of the demon suppression statue. He dragged the heavy chains of demon suppression behind him and slammed the demon suppression tower with his fists. The chains of demon suppression produced the sound of metal being stretched and twisted. Break! Li Qingshan shuddered and stretched his arms as hard as he could. The chains of demon suppression shattered inch by inch, and he slammed into the tower. With a great rumble, the demon suppression tower collapsed loudly, turning back into surging demon chi and surging back. His demonified body swelled up further, reaching several hundred meters in length. Just now, it stopped. The demon heart that had always been on the verge of shattering began to condense again, turning into the heart of a demon king. The huge set of demonic armor was wrapped in chains, but they were no longer restraints, but weapons. A straight horn protruded from the center of the helmet, pointing diagonally at the sky. It happened to be the shape of the demon suppression tower. Li Qingshan sensed the brand new power in his body and felt delighted inside. All butterflies were trapped in their own cocoons, so why would they have to worry about not being able to break free? There were still various problems that needed to be resolved urgently, such as the lack of tempering of his power, which made him extremely clumsy and heavy after demonification, or the fact that he was in a berserk state after demonification, or the fact that the quality of his demon heart was much worse without the baptism of the heavenly tribulation. However, a demon king was a demon king. All of these problems could be resolved slowly. He was confident that he could control whatever state he was in. That was enough. With a thought, Li Qingshan turned into a demonic and divine body that stood over 700 meters tall again, donning a set of dark red demonic armor. Checking it out, he did not expect it to fit him quite well. In the end, he reverted to his human form and dispelled his devilization. However, he discovered that his entire body was covered in demonic runes and demonic energy. If he wandered about outside, other cultivators would probably be able to discover a great demon king like him from 50 kilometers away. With his current appearance, he definitely could not enter the Chan monastery of Devanaga. Fortunately, he had the spirit turtle's method of sea suppression. Not only did it suppress the demon chi, but it even purged the demonic glyphs. Li Qingshan arrived outside the Azura field and handed the demon hearts that had yet to be used up to Little, and spiritual medicines and spiritual stones were basically useless to her, but demon hearts and demon folk grew together. They were not condensed from pure power like golden cores. Instead, they were rather similar to Buddhist cultivators' sariras. She tossed these demon hearts into the blood sea banner and slowly melted them away. Time flew by. Little and continued refining the skull prayer beads, while Li Qingshan began tempering the demon hearts. In the blink of an eye, a few months had passed. On this day, a woman in red arrived outside Qing Zhao's dwelling and probed, "Qingshan. Qiongji." Chapter 1004. Li Qingshan rejoiced inside. He immediately stopped cultivating and stood up. Right when he was about to leave, he sensed another aura. An armored man stood on the mountain opposite Qing Zhao's dwelling. He seemed to be in his 30s or 40s, and he was at the second heavenly tribulation. He had a square face with thick eyebrows, large eyes, and a high nose bridge. He seemed rather masculine. "Junior sister, is this really his dwelling?" "Senior brother, do you think I'd even remember something like that?" Han Qiongji said. "You've misunderstood, junior sister. I don't think the Chain Mountains are some famed mountain with abundant spiritual qi. It doesn't seem to match the White Hawk commander's identity, which is why I have this question. Not to mention, it's been so many years, so it's nothing strange even if you remember incorrectly, senior brother," you said. "How can I remember incorrectly? When he built this dwelling, he wasn't even some White Hawk commander yet." Han Qiongji became nostalgic, but she was also rather disappointed. "Sigh, looks like he's not in the dwelling. Junior sister, don't blame me for being rude. Since he's returned to the Green Province, he should have come to see you as soon as possible. Why did he make you come find him instead?" This was the first time senior brother Yu had seen Han Qiongji dress up so meticulously in all these years. She was radiant, and he could not help but sigh inside. "He saw Tie and knows I'm in secluded cultivation," Han Qiongji explained. "If it were me, I'd definitely wait at the entrance for you to emerge. That's the only way I can demonstrate my sincerity," senior brother Yu smiled. "If you keep talking nonsense with me, I'll get him to beat you up," Han Qiongji said in exasperation. "Ha, that's exactly what I wanted. I've heard you mention it for so many years. I've wanted to compete with this renowned Li Qingshan a long time ago. Senior brother Yu laughed aloud, raring to go. There's no need for a competition. Go find a locust plague yourself. You'll be impressive if you survive. After leaving the Green Province for so many years, Li Qingshan swept through the locust plague as soon as he returned, saving the prefectural city of Clear River. His reputation flourished once again, and Han Qiongji felt proud too. Junior sister, you're making things difficult for me. I don't even have the Azura field. How can I deal with so many locusts? Senior apprentice brother Yu explained. He was extremely envious of Li Qingshan. The Azura field was a supreme treasure of the military, and not only was it extremely beneficial to one's cultivation, it also had many other miraculous uses. In all of Qing province, there was only one great general king, and now there was a second one. Cut the crap. If you don't dare, then you don't dare. Han Qiongji turned around and was about to leave when the stone door suddenly opened. She turned around and saw the familiar figure and smiling face. Her heart skipped a beat and she couldn't say a single word. Li Qingshan's heart was also not calm. Seeing her fiery red dress, he recalled the past and arrived in front of her in one step. He embraced her and said apologetically, "I've made you wait for a long time." "It's okay." Han Qiongji shook her head, and tears immediately welled up in her eyes. She raised her head and touched Li Qingshan's cheek as if she was confirming that this was not a dream. "It's good that you've returned alive. I've always been worried that you'd been killed in the south. Don't you know how powerful your husband is? Only I kill people. Why would anyone want to kill me?" Li Qingshan stuck out his chest. Seeing how happy and excited she was, his heart was filled with endless tenderness. "Stop bragging." Han Qiongji's voice was gentle. Senior apprentice brother Yu blinked. He even began to doubt whether this was the little junior sister he knew. "Qiongji, who is this fellow?" Li Qingshan glanced at senior apprentice brother Yu and asked Han Qiongji. "My name is Yu Bing. I've long heard of fellow Li's name, so I've come to pay my respects." Yu Bing leaped onto the cliff and looked at Li Qingshan from head to toe. Although he could not sense any aura from Li Qingshan and could not determine his cultivation, he could feel a sense of power from Li Qingshan. It was as heavy as a mountain, giving off an unshakable feeling. He praised Li Qingshan in his heart. To be able to make little junior sister pay so much attention to him, he was indeed extraordinary. Don't listen to his nonsense. This is my senior apprentice brother. Master sent him to escort me. Han Qiongji hugged Li Qingshan's arm and introduced him. Fellow Li Qingshan, as soon as you returned to Qingzhou, you dealt a heavy blow to the Flying Locust King. It's really admirable. However, the Flying Locust King's spies are everywhere, so you have to be careful. Otherwise, I don't want to spoil the fun. Thank you, fellow Yu. Li Qingshan cupped his hands and said, "Qiongji, you've become a disciple. May I know who your master is?" "The great General King, Yu Wuyang. He's also senior apprentice brother Yu's biological father." Han Qiongji emphasized the last four words. The great General King. Li Qingshan naturally remembered this Qingzhou's #1 militarist. He said to Yu Bing, "I didn't expect fellow Yu's family to have such a long history. My apologies for not recognizing you. I'm ashamed." Yu Bing blushed slightly and said to Han Qiongji, "Junior apprentice sister, you're too merciless with your words. Who asked you to spout nonsense just now? It's already good enough that I didn't beat you up." Han Qiongji said. "What's there to be ashamed about?" Li Qingshan was a little confused. To have such a good father, one should feel proud. Fellow Li Qingshan is of ordinary birth, but you relied on your own ability to fight against the locust plague. Your name is known throughout Qingzhou. I've been under the shadow of my family for many years. Even though I have a body of cultivation, I still have to use my father's name. How can I not feel ashamed?" Li Qingshan had a better impression of this Yu Bing. Before he could say anything, a cheer came from behind. Well said. I, Li Fengyuan, will make a name for myself. I will not rely on my father's name. Little Phoenix walked out of the cave and said in high spirits. Yu Bing suddenly felt a strong aura coming towards him. It seemed to be demonic aura, but it was different. Han Xiongji keenly noticed Li Fengyuan's surname. She asked, "Your father is?" Li Qingshan. Little Phoenix said proudly. Li Qingshan. Han Xiongji's face darkened. She gritted her teeth and said, "I've tolerated your nonsense outside. But now you've even brought my son back. Li Qingshan, what do you want?" Qiongji, don't misunderstand. He's not my biological son. He's my godson. Godson. Li Qingshan hurriedly explained. The biological one hasn't been born yet. Really? Han Xiongji said doubtfully. Of course it's true. Brat, quickly transform into your original form. Li Qingshan kicked the little phoenix off the cliff. With a phoenix's cry, the phoenix spread its wings and flew around the valley, shining with resplendent light. This is a phoenix? Yu Bing was dumbfounded. You see, how can I give birth to a bird? Who can say for sure? Even if this isn't, there might be more outside. Han Xiongji said. You're thinking too much. If there is, it's with you. Li Qingshan laughed. A woman's intuition was really scary. Yu Bing stared at little Phoenix. This wasn't the key to the matter, right? That was a legendary phoenix. Is little an inside? Han Xiongji tilted her head and looked at the cave's stone door. She's cultivating in seclusion. She'll only come out after a while. Why don't we go to the prefecture and revisit the old place? Li Qingshan suggested. It wasn't convenient for others to see the scene of little and cultivating. Come to my house. My master wants to see you. Han Xiongji said. The great General King is in the Clear River Prefecture. Just to see me. Chapter 1005. At noon, below the tall gate in front of the estate of Han. In the past, I fought my way in for a marriage proposal. Li Qingshan smiled. Yeah. Before I knew it, so many years have already passed, said Han Xiongji. Really? I've never heard my junior sister mention that. Fellow, you're so outstanding. Does General Han still have some dissatisfaction? Yu Bing asked. What can I do? The military just likes fighting and killing. You can treat it as a special treatment. Li Qingshan shrugged. Don't you like it? Han Xiongji asked. If I didn't like it, why would I fight my way in? I can't help but fight again right now. This time, I don't need your help. I alone am enough to fight my way to father-in-law Han. Even if you want to fight, there's no one to fight for you. As they said that, the door opened, and Han Tie came out to receive them. Li Qingshan made his way up the stairs and entered the fortress-like estate of Han. Without the sight of soldiers and formations, it actually seemed a little cold and cheerless. He followed the path in his memory and arrived in the inner hall of the estate. Before he had even entered, he heard the unraging monk's furious roar. Damned disciple, you tricked your junior brother into coming back, saying something along the lines of, perhaps I'll be here before you. Just how long has it been? Why don't you get your ass in here? It had to be mentioned that the unraging monk was rather terrifying when he became angry. Yu Bing and Han Xiongji were both taken aback. They looked at Li Qingshan in worry. The person they could not afford to provoke the least in the cultivation community was their master. If they made their master so angry, the disciple would probably suffer. Enough, enough. You're lucky that I've returned. Who knows how many benefits the King of Southern Yu has promised me, insisting that I remain in the King of Yu's estate as an honored guest. If it weren't for your sake, I would be living happily in the Mist Province. Li Qingshan entered the hall without any care. The unraging monk was the same as before, dressed in shabby monk robes and sitting there with his chest bared, staring at him furiously. A dignified old man sat beside the unraging monk. His grayish-white hair was combed meticulously, and his dignified, square face bore some resemblance to Yu Bing. It went without saying that he was the great general, Wang Yuhuyang. Yu Bing looked at Li Qingshan in shock. Although he was the son of the great general lord, if he dared to disrespect his elders, he would definitely be beaten to death. Even now, it was still the same. The great general lord was somewhat displeased. His pupils constricted slightly as the killing intent of a peak expert of the military school was released. Immediately, there was a powerful pressure. The pressure of the two great cultivators filled the hall like the mountains and the seas. Han Anjuan held his breath. Han Xiongji and Yu Bing couldn't even bow if they wanted to. Li Qingshan's expression didn't change in the slightest. He stepped forward and cupped his fists. Li Qingshan greets Master, Great General Lord, and Father-in-law Han. Not bad. A sliver of surprise flashed through Yu Wuyang's eyes. Even a great cultivator might not be able to remain so composed under his pressure. Of course. Li Qingshan smiled. The king of Southern Yu wants you to remain in the Mist Province? The unraging monk asked. This was a matter of principle. The Green Province and the Mist Province were already at daggers drawn. If it were not for the Demon Plague and Locust Plague, they would have fought to the bitter end already. Master, you've started putting on an act too. Don't you know what the king of Southern Yu's attitude is like? Li Qingshan smiled. It's just some petty tricks to drive a wedge between us. You damn disciple, answer me honestly whatever I ask you. Where's One Will? The unraging monk asked. She's still in secluded cultivation. She'll emerge in the next few days. By then, she'll obviously report to the Chan Monastery of Devanaga, said Li Qingshan. That's good. Only then did the unraging monk feel relieved. The news of Li Qingshan purging the locust plague had reached the Chan Monastery of Devanaga, but what the dauntless monk cared about the most was little Anne's whereabouts. He heard that she was not with Li Qingshan, so he was afraid something might happen to her. However, after waiting for a while, Li Qingshan had no intentions of reporting to the Chan Monastery of Devanaga. The great general king just happened to be visiting the unraging monk, so they came to the Clear River Prefecture together. Master, you sure are biased. So much for being your direct disciple. Li Qingshan shook his head. Who told you not to be a monk? We Buddhists only take care of our own. The unraging monk smiled. He had never worried that Li Qingshan would betray the Chan Monastery of Devanaga, just like how he had never expected Li Qingshan to be loyal to the Chan Monastery of Devanaga. Just now, he had only flown into a rage to teach him a lesson. Sure enough, he failed to scare him. Master, you seem to have said some impressive truth. What happened to delivering everyone from suffering? Drunken words. Drunken words. Kid, you're a scourge no matter where you go. If you stay in the Mist Province, you'll be a great help to the Green Province. Oh right, you still owe me a demonic treasure. Li Qingshan suddenly recalled the unraging monk's promise. Is that why you've returned? That's not it. I'm known as the king of savages in the south. What treasures do I lack? Do I really lack something like that? What a king of savages. Then I won't be giving it to you. We've already agreed on it, so how can I not give it to you? Hand it over. Li Qingshan grabbed the unraging monk by the collar. Damn disciple, let go of me. It left the other disciples of the school of the military in a daze. There were not a lot of people in the entire cultivation community who treated each other with such impoliteness. However, they could tell that the master and disciple actually got along very well. Yu Bing secretly glanced at Yu Wuyang. This was much better than his biological son. Yu Wuyang glanced at him, and cold light seemed to flash through his eyes. Yu Bing shrunk back and performed a military salute. He said firmly, "Great General King, fortunately, Yu Bing has accomplished his mission. I've delivered my junior sister safely and invited Commander Li over." Yu Wuyang nodded slightly before coughing gently again. The unraging monk said, "Damned disciple, fellow Yu has something to ask you. You need to answer him honestly." Han Xiongji also shot him a pleading gaze. She was afraid that he would lose his temper and anger her master, which would be troublesome for her. Li Qingshan let go of the unraging monk's collar and said sternly, "Xiongji's master is my senior. Please feel free to ask me anything, Great General King. I will definitely tell you everything I know. Where did you get your Azura field from?" Yu Wuyang cut right to the chase. The Azura field was not a regular arcane treasure. Refining a single one would take up enough resources and effort. It was equivalent to refining 10 regular arcane treasures, so it held extremely special significance to the school of the military. "The Banyan Tree King gave it to me," Li Qingshan said calmly. "He gave it to you? Why?" Yu Wuyang was doubtful. Although the Banyan Tree King was known for his gentleness and magnanimity, it was impossible for him to give away a supreme treasure like that so easily no matter how generous he was. "Is there anything strange about friends giving each other gifts?" Li Qingshan said like it was obvious. "You're talking about friends? Did I hear you wrong?" Yu Wuyang could not help but reveal a strange expression on his solemn, squarish face. What kind of existence was the Banyan Tree King? He was originally one of the 10 demon kings renowned throughout the 9 provinces. Now that he had refined the Mist Province cauldron, he had even become the god of the Mist Province. Even Yu Wuyang was not confident that he could stand on equal footing with him, yet a measly White Hawk commander was actually bold enough to call himself the Banyan Tree King's friend. Was that not the greatest joke in the world? Chapter 1006. If you don't believe me, you're welcome to ask the Banyan Tree King. It's just an Azura field. Is there a need to make such a fuss? Li Qingshan said helplessly. However, apart from Han Xiongji, everyone present was doubtful. "You want me to go to the Mist Province?" Yu Wuyang was already certain that Li Qingshan was lying. It was impossible for them to ask the Banyan Tree King for proof. "There's no need for that." Li Qingshan considered it and took out the fruit of wisdom from his sumaru ring. He passed it to Han Xiongji and said, "Eat it and give me the seed." "This is..." Han Xiongji was taken aback. She gazed at the glowing fruit in her hand. She could tell with a single glance that it was anything but ordinary. It seemed to contain the endless mysteries of nature, deeply drawing her attention. "This is a banyan fruit. You can treat it as my gift." "I'm sorry for making you wait for so many years," Li Qingshan said sincerely. Before Han Anjuan and Yu Bing could even make sense of the situation, the great General King and the unraging monk stood up at the same time and said together, "The fruit of wisdom." They could not be blamed for being so surprised. The fruit of wisdom was renowned across the 9 provinces. As a matter of fact, some people even regarded it as the greatest spiritual fruit in the world. Regular spiritual fruits, no matter how powerful their intelligence was, could only be used as resources to save some time on cultivation. The more precious spiritual fruits could increase the aptitude of cultivators, but they were only used to refine the soul and strengthen the body. However, the fruit of wisdom could drastically increase a cultivator's ability to comprehend. Countless cultivators in the world encountered bottlenecks during their cultivation, becoming stuck at various cultivation realms. Most of them did so because their ability to comprehend was insufficient. No matter how many resources they possessed, how powerful their bodies were, or how pure their souls were, it was useless. This was the value of the fruit of wisdom. Even a great cultivator like Yu Wuyang would be interested. No one would complain about their ability to comprehend being too low. "Damn disciple, where did you get this fruit of wisdom from?" the unraging monk asked in surprise. "I stole it," Li Qingshan said. "What? The unraging monk was stunned. He felt like his brain was a little lacking. Stealing something from the banyan tree king, and it was the fruit of wisdom no less. Probably even the imperial clan of the Dragon Province would not be able to do it. Master, aren't you talking nonsense? Of course, it was given to me by the banyan tree king. Li Qingshan shook his head. The unraging monk was speechless. He had learned from Doge that Li Qingshan's relationship with the banyan tree king was anything but ordinary. There was a branch of the banyan tree king on Savage Mountain, but there were plenty of banyan tree king branches. Just how many of them could obtain the fruit of wisdom? Yu Wuyang furrowed his brows, and his heart wavered. Was the Shiraba really a gift from the banyan tree king? Even his own son isn't so close to him. Yu Bing sighed before receiving another glare from Yu Wuyang. He thought, I didn't think Li Qingshan would actually be so generous. Junior sister really hasn't waited all these years for nothing. So much for acting like a tomboy, but her eye for men really is admirable. Qingshan, I appreciate your kindness, but I can't accept something so precious. You should eat it instead. Han Xiongji returned to her senses and returned the fruit of wisdom to Li Qingshan. Why do we have to keep it to ourselves? And, I've already eaten one, so it's useless even if I eat another. Your one is much better than mine. It was condensed by the banyan tree king after he became the god of the Mist Province. It contains a fragment of the Mist Province cauldron. He said it has other wondrous uses. Yu Wuyang's eyes narrowed, and he stared at the fruit of wisdom deeply. It was no wonder he felt like it contained the laws of the world. The fruit of wisdom was probably worth even more than the Shiraba field. It was enough to change the trajectory of a cultivator's life. If the person who received the fruit of wisdom were not Han Xiongji, he might even be tempted to take it by force. Han Xiongji did not turn it down anymore. Actually, when she heard that Li Qingshan had swept through the locust plague, she felt both glorious and rather dejected. Originally, she thought she could get a little closer to him after all these years of painstaking cultivation, but after so many years, she discovered that the distance between them was growing larger and larger, almost beyond her reach. It was exactly like Han Anjuan's prophecy in the past. She looked at Li Qingshan and said quietly, with this fruit of wisdom, I can get a little closer to you. Eat it and give the seed to me. I'll get the banyan tree king to confront them, Li Qingshan said to Han Xiongji. There's no need. Xiongji, the fruit of wisdom is extraordinarily valuable. Take some time and slowly refine it. Yu Wuyang said. Yes, master, Han Xiongji said. So, the great general lord is willing to believe me? Li Qingshan smiled. Even if the banyan tree king gave you the Shiraba, where did the banyan tree king get it from? Yu Wuyang asked. You'll have to ask the banyan tree king about that. If you don't want to go to the Mist Province, you'll have to wait for a while. Li Qingshan laid out his hands. Didn't he tell you when he gave it to you? Yu Wuyang asked. I think he picked it up from somewhere, Li Qingshan said. Can you show it to me? Yu Wuyang asked. No problem. Li Qingshan took out the Azura field and handed it to Yu Wuyang. I didn't expect you to have grown to such a level. Looks like you've put in a lot of effort. Yu Wuyang fiddled with the Azura field. The blood qi that shrouded it exceeded his expectations. He had no idea how many battles it had experienced. Indeed, Li Qingshan had won several crucial battles in the Azura field. You can summon Azura commanders now, right? Can you control them? Yu Wuyang doubted. Azura were much more powerful than regular cultivators. If their cultivations were similar, there was basically no chance of victory. I can, but I've killed them all. I've only left one that's pleasing to the eye. There's no need to control them. Who killed them? How did they kill them? That'll be troublesome to explain. May I ask what exactly you're trying to do, Great General Lord? You might as well just tell me. Li Qingshan had already become rather impatient. Li Qingshan, don't think I've come to harm you, or I wouldn't have specially called your master. Do you know that every Azura field is different? I suspect that the Azura field in your possession originally belonged to Prince Si Qing before it was taken away by the North Moon. The North Moon died in the Mist Province, which was why it ended up in the hands of the Banyan Tree King. Back when Prince Si Qing came to the Rui Commandery, he caused a very great disturbance in order to refine an Azura field. The great General Lord knew everything about this. When the Azura field reappeared in the Clear River Prefecture, he immediately suspected this. I'm not sure about that, but so what? Li Qingshan said. Do you know that Prince Si Qing has already undergone the third heavenly tribulation and become the third crown prince of Great Xia? The matter of the Azura field will reach his ears very soon. I heard that he has grievances with you in the first place. If he learns that the lost Azura field is in your hands. Chapter 1007. Li Qingshan hated Si Qing, the son of a bitch, quite a lot, but he found it to be far too troublesome if he came all the way to the Dragon Province for revenge. If he came all the way just to be beaten up, that would be for the best. You're not worried? Yu Wuyang originally thought that even if Li Qingshan did not pale with fright, his face would definitely sink after saying that. His attitude was far too unexpected, or in other words, he had been surprised ever since he met this man. Li Qingshan said, I'm worried. How can I not be worried? He was worried that he wouldn't come. Master, what do we do now? Han Xiongji asked in worry. So be it if a great cultivator viewed him as an enemy, and he was even a prince of Great Xia. Si Qing had not been the Marquis of Rui for very long, but his brutal nature was deeply rooted in the hearts of the people in the Rui Commandery. The simplest way is to return it to its owner, or Si Qing definitely won't just let the matter go. He refined it after all, so it's reasonable. The Banyan Tree King you mentioned is an enemy of Great Xia right now, so it'll only become a weakness if I mention it. Yu Wuyang pulled a long face. He was still rather unused to Li Qingshan's disrespectful attitude. I appreciate your kind intentions, General, but it's probably impossible for me to hand over the Azura field for nothing. Li Qingshan shook his head with a smile. There's another way. Hand the Azura field to me. Tell others that I'm lending it to you, and I'll bear all of Si Qing's blame. Yu Wuyang patted the Azura field in his hand and revealed his true objective. With his identity as the great General King, he was enough to contend with this Crown Prince of Great Xia. You don't have to worry. I, Yu Wuyang, will never take advantage of someone weaker than me. I will give you enough compensation. I've asked your master to come as a witness. If Li Qingshan really was a golden core cultivator, this would be the best solution without a doubt. However, even if it was just to draw Si Qing over, he would never hand over the Azura field. Not to mention the value of the Azura field to him. It was not something that Yu Wuyang could compensate for. Is there any other way? You'll have to ask your master. Yu Wuyang believed that Li Qingshan would eventually accept this proposal. What fellow you said might not be a bad way to deal with the problem. If you really don't want to give up on the Azura field, then return to the Chan Monastery of Devanaga. The unraging monk said seriously. If Si Qing insists on forcing me to hand over the Azura field, will the Chan Monastery of Devanaga really protect me? Li Qingshan shook his head. It was possible, but he probably didn't have the face to do so. I'll protect you, said the unraging monk. Thank you, Master. I don't want to make things difficult for you, and I don't want to rely on others to protect me. The unraging monk's words further confirmed Li Qingshan's guess. The Green Province was not a savage land like the Mist Province. The Great Xia Empire had ruled for 5 millennia, and even if they wavered, it was enough to deter a sect. If the Azura field belonged to him in the first place, then the Chan Monastery of Devanaga would never allow an outsider to come knocking on their door. However, Si Qing only had 30% of the reason. With his identity as a prince, he could make it 10%. It was impossible for the abbot and the dauntless monk to directly oppose him for his sake. Perhaps they would try to persuade him to hand over the Azura field instead to resolve the matter. You might as well consider it properly before making your decision, said Yu Wuyang. There's no need to consider it. If Si Qing wants to come, then let him come. When Li Qingshan reached there, he suddenly looked back. Isn't he already here? Speak of the devil and he will appear. The unraging monk and Yu Wuyang both stood up. They also sensed a tremendous aura rapidly approaching the estate of Han. They glanced at Li Qingshan in surprise. He actually possessed such sharp senses. In just a moment, the aura enveloped the sky above the estate of Han, and a cold, dignified voice rang out. Where is Li Qingshan? A man in a golden crown and faint, yellow robes embroidered with embroidery gazed at the estate of Han below. His body exuded an air of nobility, which diluted his sinister temperament. Beside him, a woman in white stood with her arms crossed. She held a jade folding fan in her hand, and there was a faint smile on her face. His hair was tied into a simple ponytail. He didn't have the domineering aura of a man, but he had a natural and unrestrained demeanor. Si Qing, long time no see. Li Qingshan came to the outside of the hall and paused for a moment. And Commander Gu. It had been many years since they last met. As expected, she had also gone through 3 heavenly tribulations and was even more elegant than before. Commander Li, the third prince was looking for you, so I brought him here. You won't blame me, right? Gu Yenying smiled. How could that be? I can't thank you enough. Li Qingshan smiled and asked, may I know why the third prince is looking for me? Si Qing saw the unraging monk and Yu Wuyang behind Li Qingshan and suppressed his killing intent. He said bluntly, hand over the Azura field, and we'll write off our grievances, or, if he held his tongue, it would be even more obvious that he was not going to say it. It was a blatant threat. What grievances do we have? Didn't you accept your defeat back then? Li Qingshan turned around and retrieved the Azura field from Yu Wuyang's hands. He tossed it around casually and immediately drew Si Qing's attention. He blurted out, my Azura field. Wrong. It's my Azura field, Li Qingshan corrected him. Li Qingshan, where did you get this Azura field from? Si Qing questioned. I picked it up on the side of the road. What's it got to do with you? The ancients once said that it belongs to whoever picks it up. Li Qingshan could not even be bothered to explain. Li Qingshan. Si Qing gritted his teeth. Fury surged through his chest. Ever since he underwent the 3rd heavenly tribulation and went from a regular prince to the crown prince of the Great Xia, no one dared to speak to him like that anymore. The malice in his eyes intensified. If it were not for the fact that the unraging monk was present, he would have killed him on the spot. I'll give you one last chance. I'll count to 3, and you return the Azura field to me. I can treat it like nothing has happened. 1. 2. Li Qingshan answered with a smile. 3. Third prince, if my disciple has offended you in any way, you can just bear with it. As his master, I've often been bullied by him too. The unraging monk chuckled and patted Li Qingshan's shoulder. Li Qingshan's heart warmed up. The unraging monk was definitely not joking when he said he would protect him. Are you going to shield him, unraging master? Si Qing asked. Shield him. What shortcomings does my disciple have? Even if he's unruly, arrogant, and ignorant, it's still better than killing the innocent for his own selfish reasons, the unraging monk said. You. Si Qing's expression changed, and he clenched his fists. However, the Chan monastery of Devanaga possessed great influence, and they shared weal and woe with the King Chu's estate. It was impossible for him to fall out with them over a single mockery, and even if he did, he probably would not be their opponent. Qing, let's go down. We can talk about it slowly, Gu Yenying said to Si Qing. Yenying, you chose this time to bring me here because you don't want him to die, right? Si Qing communicated. Chapter 1008. Li Qingshan, I admit you're much stronger than regular trash, so I'd advise you not to make a mistake. Don't ruin your great future for mere worldly possessions. Even when Si Qing stood before Li Qingshan, he still looked down on him and ordered him around. My future can't be ruined just because someone wants to, even if it's some prince or crown prince. Li Qingshan fiddled around with the Azura field, completely ignoring Si Qing's threat. Unraging master, the Azura field doesn't just belong to me. It belongs to the imperial family too, so it must be taken back. Does the Chan monastery of Devanaga really want to become enemies with Great Xia over this kid? Si Qing held back his urge to kill Li Qingshan and said to the unraging monk. You're only a crown prince. You still can't represent Great Xia. The Azura field is soaked in the blood of the cultivators of our green province. I don't think it'll be that easy if you want to take it back so easily. The unraging monk retorted firmly. At the end of the day, you just want some benefits. All right, state your conditions. Si Qing said in disdain. He had noticed the dense, blood-red light in the Azura field. Clearly, it was much more powerful than when he had just refined it, so he did not mind paying a little price. He would naturally get his revenge in the future. There are no conditions at all. You can't take the Azura field away. Li Qingshan rejected him flatly. Li Qingshan, why don't you take a look at your identity first? Is there any place for you to speak here? Si Qing was angered. Having been provoked by a White Hawk commander time and time again, his patience had reached the limit too. I can tell you're not willing to just let the matter go. Why don't we have another bet? The Azura field will belong to whoever wins. Li Qingshan said. What bet? Si Qing asked. Don't you like duels? Then let's have another one. You want your master to fight me? What a good disciple. Si Qing sneered. Yu Wuyang frowned heavily. He felt great contempt towards Li Qingshan. Was he acting willfully just because he was using his connections to intimidate others? However, the unraging monk did not think so. He was well aware of Li Qingshan's temperament. He was so independent that he was proud and aloof. Even if Li Qingshan was under his protection, Li Qingshan would not accept it, let alone fight on his behalf. No, I want to duel with you. Li Qingshan's eyes shone brightly. He looked straight at Si Qing. As soon as he said that, everyone except Gu Yenying was stunned, wondering if they had heard wrongly. Not only was Si Qing at the third stage of the heavenly tribulation, he had also cultivated the Black Emperor Dragon Scripture, one of the 3 graves and 5 scriptures of the royal family. His strength far surpassed that of ordinary nascent soul cultivators. Qingshan. Don't be rash. The unraging monk smiled bitterly inside. Now this is Li Qingshan's temperament. Oh, my damned disciple. You might as well have let your master take action. Yu Wuyang's expression changed from disdain to surprise. In the end, he had to admit that he really couldn't see through Li Qingshan. Master. I know what I'm doing. I'm known as the King of Savages in the southern border. Li Qingshan said with a smile. King of Savages, could it be that he? No, this is impossible. Si Qing's mind raced, and he immediately rejected this inconceivable thought. As a prince, he had the best talent, the best resources, and the strongest cultivation technique, but he had still spent over 300 years to reach this level. It took more than 100 years to go from the second heavenly tribulation to the third. Given Li Qingshan's background, it was already a miracle that he could become the White Eagle commander at such a young age. He had only undergone the second heavenly tribulation in 20 to 30 years, so it was impossible for him to undergo the third heavenly tribulation. The so-called King of Savages is definitely just an empty title. What King of Savages? Savages are more like savages. Aren't you afraid of being mocked in such a desolate place? It was not Si Qing's fault for thinking like that. Aside from Gu Yenying, everyone present was the same. No one would guess that Li Qingshan had already gone through 3 heavenly tribulations. This had nothing to do with wisdom, but common sense. What, are you scared? Your Highness. This bastard still dares to bluff. That was what Si Qing believed. He felt humiliated by his hesitation just now, so he said proudly, dueling you is an insult to me, but for the sake of the Chan Monastery of Devanaga, I'll give you this opportunity. Li Qingshan smiled inside. You've finally taken the bait, or in other words, he crooked his finger, and the fish leapt ashore. Since you want my Azura field, you should offer something of equal value as a wager. Otherwise, the duel won't take place. There's no need to go through so much trouble. I also have a condition. Cold light flashed through Si Qing's eyes. What condition? Li Qingshan asked. I want to engage in a battle to the death with you. No one is allowed to interfere before life and death is determined. Si Qing's killing intent surged. He no longer hid it. Qing, that's not very appropriate. Gu Yenying tried to persuade him. Yenying, this has nothing to do with you. Si Qing said straightforwardly. He was certain that Gu Yenying was siding with Li Qingshan. Gu Yenying shook her head. What was the point? Li Qingshan lowered his head and feigned hesitation to hide the joy in his heart. To think that there would be something so good. Originally, he had considered Si Qing's identity, and killing him would definitely lead to endless trouble. His plans in the Green Province would all be disrupted, so he had been considering whether to kill him or not. He never thought he would actually propose such a delightful condition. What, are you afraid now? Si Qing became more and more certain that Li Qingshan was just putting on an act just now. I still vaguely remember that a duel can only be fought with your own strength? Li Qingshan asked in a probing manner, as if he wanted to shrink back. He had already made up his mind to kill. He thought, as the crown prince, this bastard must have quite a lot of life-saving items on him. If it's a regular battle, I really might not be able to kill him. That's right. No external items are allowed in the duel. The Sumeru ring will be handed to the arbitrator for safekeeping, and the victor will obtain everything. How about it? This wager is much greater than the Azura field. Si Qing was afraid that Li Qingshan would go back on his word, so he added another bait. All right. Li Qingshan seemed to have made up his mind. He thought, Si Qing, oh Si Qing, you can't blame me if you want to die. When Li Qingshan agreed, Si Qing suddenly felt uneasy, as if he had made a wrong judgment. However, he immediately suppressed this uneasiness. There was no reason for him to lose. Great General King, please lend me your Azura field. Please hand over your Sumeru rings and all your belongings. Yu Wuyang took out an Azura field with a flip of his hand. The decorations were indeed different from Li Qingshan's Azura field, and it was even denser. Yenying, you'll be our arbitrator, Si Qing said to Gu Yenying. Both parties have to agree. Yu Wuyang lowered his eyes. As the owner of the Azura field, he would usually be the arbitrator. Si Qing clearly did not trust him. Gu Yenying nodded slightly and said to Li Qingshan, may I? Yes. The 2 Sumeru rings landed in Gu Yenying's hand. She clenched her fists. Although it's a battle to the death, I'd advise the 2 of you to be lenient wherever possible. Si Qing thought Gu Yenying was talking to him. He sneered slightly, but he did not comment. I've always been one to be lenient wherever possible. Li Qingshan smiled. He would never be lenient wherever possible. With that, he stepped into the Azura field first. The familiar blood-red swirl permeated with a heavy stench of blood. Everything was enveloped in a layer of red light. The terrain was relatively simple, with undulating mountain ranges and lone peaks standing tall. Surrounded by the mountains, there was a large open space. Li Qingshan and Si Qing appeared in the empty space, facing off against each other. Soon afterwards, the unraging monk and the others appeared on the tallest mountain, overlooking the battlefield below. Yu Wuyang, who are they? With a flash of red light, a man with disheveled hair appeared on the mountain, directly calling Yu Wuyang by name. The presence he gave off was that of an Azura king. A living one and a dead one. Yu Wuyang said. A battle to the death. Interesting. The Azura king said. Who do you think will win? Yu Wuyang asked. There's actually a battle you can't predict? The Azura king was rather surprised. He glanced down. If I were to bet, I'd bet on the kid on the right. Yu Wuyang was slightly surprised. The one on the right was Li Qingshan. He said sternly, he hasn't undergone the third heavenly tribulation yet. What? Did I make a mistake? The Azura king knew nothing about Li Qingshan. He made a judgment based on his instincts as a warrior. He stared at Li Qingshan deeply. His presence is completely concealed, so how do you know he hasn't undergone the third heavenly tribulation? Why do I feel like he's much more difficult to deal with than the kid on the left? Maybe you made a mistake. Yu Wuyang wanted to deny it. However, he struggled to question the Azura king's instincts regarding this battle. Did I really make a mistake? Li Qingshan, feel free to use whatever you've got. I'd like to see where you get the confidence to challenge me. I heard you practice the secret cultivation method of the Chan Monastery of Devanaga, the demon suppression statuary. Let me see what's so impressive about it. As you wish. Li Qingshan released his suppression over the demon heart. Immediately, demon qi surged into the air, surging out in all directions like the tide. Although he still lacked the time to polish the quality, from the perspective of quantity, the effects were quite startling. Si Qing was stunned. He was in disbelief. Demon King. Yu Wuyang's eyes narrowed. Within the surging demon qi, Li Qingshan's dark red eyes were like cold stars. Strange demonic tattoos appeared on his body. He suddenly understood. To be able to calmly kill the flying locust demon commander in the midst of a locust plague, it was not something that a Jindan adept could do. He definitely did not rely on a mere Shura field. However, how could this be possible? How old was he? The unraging monk was taken aback before bursting into laughter. This disciple of his always surprised him. The third heavenly tribulation. He's already undergone the third heavenly tribulation. Yu Bing murmured. He recalled how he had even said he wanted to compete with Li Qingshan back in the Chain Mountains. Now that he thought about it, it was such a joke. Li Qingshan, oh Li Qingshan. Looks like I've still underestimated you. Han Anjuan glanced at Han Qiongji again. Seeing how relieved she was, he could not help but sigh inside. Do you really think you can defeat me like this? Si Qing recovered from his shock. He roared and turned into a black dragon, lunging towards Li Qingshan. Alright, there's no point in guessing anymore. The outcome has already been determined, said the Azura king. The difference in strength between them isn't that great, said Yu Wuyang. As a matter of fact, Si Qing was slightly stronger. You still don't understand? I think you've been a great general for too long. You've even forgotten the most basic things. Don't beasts always do their best to conceal themselves when they hunt? The kid on the right could have just continued to conceal his strength and launched a sudden attack at a critical moment. Yu Wuyang was speechless. Was he no longer concealing himself because he had already achieved his objective? He was absolutely confident that he could kill Si Qing here. Chapter 1009. The blood-red swirl began to spin. The black dragon's roar rang through the entire Azura field as it lunged towards Li Qingshan, brandishing its claws and fangs. Apart from Yu Wuyang, the unraging monk, and the Azura king, everyone else only saw a slithering streak of black light rush towards Li Qingshan. Ha! Li Qingshan let out a gentle laugh. Demon qi erupted like smoke, immediately swallowing his figure. Bang! The black dragon collided headfirst into the pillar of smoke. Within the surging demon chi, a huge, metallic hand reached out and pressed down on the dragon's head. The black dragon struggled, but it was unable to take another step forward. It roared inside, "This is impossible. I've practiced the Black Emperor Dragon's cannon arduously. After transforming into a black dragon, my body has even surpassed Demon King's in toughness. How can I be stopped like this?" A colossal figure flickered in and out of the demon chi. Suddenly, it sucked in a deep breath, and the demon chi surged back. Only then did an armored giant over 300 meters tall appear, like a mountain. Its eyes flickered with dark, demonic light. Suddenly, it lit up, and the hand that pressed down on the black dragon suddenly tightened and pulled backwards. The black dragon's body that was close to 600 meters in length was pushed forwards against its will. Another huge hand grabbed the dragon firmly, and it was suddenly swung around, slamming into the ground heavily. Boom! Rocks were sent flying, and the ground cracked. The black dragon widened its eyes as its entire body ached. The two huge hands pulled hard, and its colossal body was thrown into the air again. Boom! Like a child swinging a dead snake, Li Qingshan grabbed the black dragon and swung it back and forth. Laughter rang out from the heavy armor. The spectators were all dumbfounded. This no longer seemed like a tense battle to the death. It was clearly a one-sided game. I've misjudged him too. How can his strength be so great? The Azura King sighed in amazement. The black dragon's body even surpassed his. Even Azura Kings who pursued strength could not stop his full-powered lunge with a single hand. Strength was not the only standard for assessing battle prowess. However, once the difference in strength had reached such a level, and it was also close combat, the outcome of the battle was basically set in stone. Yu Wuyang pursed his lips. I really want to fight him. The demon suppression statuary really is the secret technique of the Chan Monastery of Devanaga after all. It's actually even better than the Black Emperor Dragon's cannon. Yu Wuyang felt that he had to reevaluate this monk. If the disciple had such strength, wouldn't the master be even stronger? The unraging monk stared at the battlefield attentively. He was taken aback before smiling. You're too kind, fellow. This child probably came across some fortuitous encounter in the Mist Province. His brows were slightly furrowed because Li Qingshan's performance was really not normal. Although the demon suppression statuary condensed a demon heart, it was fundamentally different from demon folk. However, right now, Li Qingshan seemed no different from a demon king. His completely uncontrollable ruthlessness was even more powerful and terrifying than regular demon kings. The demon suppression statuary was in his hands. His appearance had completely changed. Could it be that he's possessed by the devil? The unraging monk dismissed this thought soon afterwards. Li Qingshan behaved extremely normally. He did not seem like he had lost control of his emotions or changed drastically at all. Moreover, qi deviation was a terrifying, negative state. He had never heard of anyone becoming even stronger after qi deviation. Just what did he encounter in the Mist Province? Li. Azure. Shan. The black dragon was tossed into the air once again. It let out a furious roar. It had never been so humiliated before. It opened its mouth and spat out surging black water. Like a black river, it directly rushed towards Li Qingshan's face. What are you doing? Li Qingshan asked with a smile. With a rip, a thick layer of his visor was eaten away, but there was still a thick layer of armor behind it. His demonified form was basically completely composed of armor. It did not have any other advantages other than its freakishly tough defense. The black dragon struggled hard, and Li Qingshan's hands slipped. He smiled viciously, purposefully not using his full strength. With the violent sound of metal grinding against each other, countless scales flew into the air and fell off. The agony almost drove the black dragon mad. It slithered around Li Qingshan's body. Four dragon claws gripped his vital points firmly, and its mouth bit down viciously on Li Qingshan's neck. The claws and teeth stabbed deeply, and there was the sound of metal twisting. The demonic armor deformed violently. The black dragon's strangulation. The demon chi around Li Qingshan vanished, and the light in his demon heart dimmed. A thin, black line wrapped around it, which happened to be a miniature black dragon. It had locked down his demon heart firmly, preventing him from using his cultivation. This was not just a strangulation of the body. It was also a direct suppression of the source of his power. "I want you dead," the black dragon growled, surging with killing intent. "This kid is far too careless, or in other words, he has no battle intent at all. Now that he's struck by this move, victory will be difficult to say." The Azura King shook his head, but to his confusion, he still could not sense much battle intent even now. "I didn't think the demon suppression statuary I practice would end up being suppressed by someone today. But it's a pity that you're still too weak. Someone I once viewed as a great enemy, even if your cultivation speed is not slow, has already become so weak. Let alone powerful demon kings like the Martial Chief King and the kings of Yin and Yang, even that bone-eating shaman king who turned into a monk halfway through is stronger than you. A battle like this is far too tedious." Li Qingshan thought. He did not feel his blood boil at all. Although it was said that even a lion would use its full strength to hunt a rabbit, that was because if it did not use its full strength, the rabbit would run away. A rabbit that crawled on a lion and bit furiously would only embarrass the lion. However, in the eyes of outsiders, Li Qingshan had indeed fallen into a terrifying, hopeless situation. The huge demonic armor constantly twisted and shrank, constantly being eaten away by the black water. The claws and teeth constantly sank in. No matter how thick the demonic armor was, it would not be able to protect him very soon. "Si Qing, I'm going to blow up my demon heart and take you down with me," Li Qingshan called out. Si Qing's heart tightened. This move of his was a powerful killing move, but it possessed a fatal flaw. He could seal up the enemy's cultivation, but he could not prevent the enemy from blowing up themselves. Once the enemy decided to blow themselves up, it was very easy for him to be dragged down with him in this state. He was not afraid of death, but this kind of death was far too aggrieving. TSK, I never thought that a dignified crown prince like you would actually die together with someone like me. Why don't you admit defeat, and I'll let you live?" Li Qingshan said with a smile. "Don't even think about it." Si Qing was enraged. He had clearly been forced into a hopeless situation, yet he still dared to threaten him. "Then I'll take you down with me," Li Qingshan said. "Come." Si Qing roared, using all his strength to strangle Li Qingshan. Li Qingshan fell silent for a moment. Si Qing's heart was in his throat, and he was prepared to dodge and flee at any moment. "I'm just joking. Take me down with you. Dream on." Li Qingshan laughed. However, the joke ended here. He made two decisions. First, he would no longer use the absolute strength of the ox demon transformation to crush his opponent. He would also not use any of the other transformations. He would only use the demon suppression statuary to fight his opponent. He would use this opportunity to temper this brand new power, and also to avoid arousing too much suspicion from the spectators. Chapter 10:10. Li Qingshan closed his eyes and allowed his mind to return to the demonic heart. The aura has changed. The Azura King, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly stood up and looked at the battlefield with bright eyes. His lips curled into a sinister smile. "Finally, it's getting interesting. I, Si Qing, am a member of the royal family of the Xia dynasty, the son of destiny. You're just a lowly commoner who got to where you are today because of luck. How dare you compete with me? Today is the day you die." The black dragon roared and tightened its body, turning the armor into scrap metal. I don't remember you being this stupid before. Did you get struck by lightning during the tribulation? Li Qingshan suddenly opened his eyes. His killing intent surged and his evil aura soared into the sky. The blood-red vortex spun faster and the demonic heart shone with demonic light, attacking the entangling black dragon. The power of the demonic heart mostly came from the demonic nature. In this almost playful state, he didn't unleash his true strength. What a brave and fierce battle intent! Yu Wuyang praised. As a warrior, he obviously admired true warriors. He felt like he was seeing Li Qingshan in a new light. He turned around and asked Han Anjuan, why didn't you accept him as a disciple of the school of the military in the first place? Han Anjuan couldn't answer. Everything was just a coincidence. But it's not a waste to have such a son-in-law, Yu Wuyang said. Han Anjuan smiled bitterly. He didn't want to have such a son-in-law, but it was his daughter who insisted on doing things her own way. With Li Qingshan's seriousness, Si Qing immediately felt that his killing intent was shaken. He was shocked and angry. This is impossible. This is the killing intent of the Black Emperor Dragon scripture. Even if my strength is not as good, I can still win against someone stronger. How did I break free? There's no why. It's just that you're weaker. Whether it's your strength or your will, going through 3 heavenly tribulations and becoming the crown prince of the Xia dynasty is just an illusion. You're even weaker than when I first met you. Si Qing. Li Qingshan seemed to have heard Si Qing's thoughts and said with a smile. Shut up. At least at that time, you still knew fear, and you still knew how to plan. Now that you've become some bullshit crown prince, do you really think that you're already standing at the top of the food chain? Do you think that you can look down on everyone and do whatever you want? Li Qingshan's words were sharp. The murderous aura intensified. In a daze, Si Qing had an illusion that it was not him who had forced Li Qingshan into a desperate situation, but Li Qingshan who had seized his vital point. It had been less than a year since he became the crown prince, but the sudden change in his status gave him unprecedented confidence. When he heard that the Azura field had appeared in Azure province, he was extremely excited. He had immediately rushed over, as if he was taking something out of his pocket. However, the development of everything had greatly exceeded his initial expectations. What exactly had gone wrong? For the world of the 9 prefectures, overcoming the 3rd heavenly tribulation could be considered as reaching the peak of the mountain, and they could heave a sigh of relief. He enjoyed the pleasure of looking down on all the other mountains. He himself had cultivated a top-notch cultivation technique and possessed an extremely high position of power. He even had the opportunity to aspire to the throne of the great Xia dynasty. However, when he looked back, the small fry that he had once disdained had already caught up with his footsteps. In fact, he was even faster than him. If all my enemies are people like you, then revenge would be too boring, regretless demon heart. Li Qingshan bellowed, and the demon heart shone brightly, instantly breaking through the shackles. Demonic chi surged out. Break! Dozens of demon suppression towers of various sizes pierced out from various parts of the demonic armor like sharp spearheads. With a pained dragon roar, the black dragon's blood splattered, and its killing momentum slowed down. However, it still refused to let go of its claws. He thought to himself, as long as I hold on a little longer and tear apart this damned armor, I'll be able to kill him. Open! Li Qingshan's body shook, and demonic chi burst out, sending the black dragon flying. Lock! Li Qingshan raised his hand, and the demon suppression chains shot out, wrapping around the black dragon's tail. The demon suppression chains stretched taut, and the black dragon flew forward, frantically trying to break free. He finally felt the fear that he had not felt in a long time. Suppress! Li Qingshan bellowed, and a large black shadow descended from the sky. A mountainous demon suppression tower descended from the sky, pressing down on the black dragon. The black dragon turned around and bit off the demon suppression chains. Its body suddenly shrank, and it dodged the suppression of the demon suppression tower, fleeing towards the mountains outside the battlefield. This scene exceeded everyone's expectations. Si Qing had actually been forced to flee. The Black Emperor Dragon mantra was powerful, but compared to the demon suppression statuary, it did not have much of an advantage. And even if Li Qingshan did not use the 9 transformations of demons and gods, with his powerful demonic nature as his foundation, his battle prowess was above that of the average demon king. Fellow Taoist Yu, what should I say? Li Qingshan was not in a hurry to give chase. Or rather, if he did not use his mystical abilities, he would not be able to catch up. The battle is not over yet. I have already sealed the Azura field. There is only one person who can walk out of it. Yu Wuyang said solemnly. Although he did not want a crown prince to die in his Azura field, a duel had its rules. If one had the determination to kill, they should also be prepared to be killed. What if he keeps running away? Li Qingshan said. Every 2 hours, I will reduce the area where you can move. This is also one of the rules of the duel, Yu Wuyang said. This is retribution. I'm not happy. Li Qingshan laughed loudly. He remembered that many years ago, Si Qing had used this very rule to force many cultivators into a desperate situation. In that case, I will wait for him here for a while. He dispersed the demonic heavy armor, sat down cross-legged, and looked at his demon heart. After a small battle that was not too intense, although he had used up a lot of demon heart, he had gotten rid of a lot of impurities. Remorseless demon heart. Damned disciple, how did you practice the demon suppression statuary? The unraging monk asked loudly. I obviously comprehended it from the demon suppression statue. Chapter 10-11. Time passed bit by bit. Li Qingshan simply focused on his cultivation and continued to refine his demonic heart, while Yu Wuyang kept shrinking the scope of the entire battlefield. After an unknown period of time, a wisp of dark clouds rose from the stream and spread across the mountains. Thunder rumbled in the clouds, and the silhouette of a dragon could be vaguely seen. Finally, a smile appeared on Li Qingshan's face as he said loudly, "Don't dawdle. Come and finish this." In the blink of an eye, the dark clouds covered the sky and shrouded Li Qingshan's head. Black rain poured down, stirring up the protective demonic energy around him and causing white mist to rise. At this moment, another 2 hours passed. Yu Wuyang further reduced the scope of the battlefield. The only area that the two could move around was this large open space surrounded by mountains and some surrounding mountains, all of which were shrouded by the dark clouds. Li Qingshan, it's time for you to die. The dragon's silhouette swam, and Si Qing's voice came from the dark clouds, accompanied by the rumbling of thunder, as if it was an order from the heavens. This move was called Dark Cloud's Cover, and it was originally a move used in the Black Emperor Dragon mantra to attack cities and break mountains. It was extremely destructive, but it was not suitable to be used in fights of magical powers. Otherwise, the enemy would be able to escape from the dark clouds in a flash. However, Si Qing had timed it perfectly and calculated the terrain, making it impossible for Li Qingshan to escape. Li Qingshan could only face it head-on. You prepared for so long just to bathe me? Li Qingshan stood in the battlefield and let out a long roar, breaking the curtain of rain and tearing the clouds apart. He caught a glimpse of the black dragon's tail, and the chains of demon suppression whizzed through the air. The black dragon swung its tail, avoiding the entanglement of the chains of demon suppression, and hid in the dark clouds again. The dragon's mouth kept breathing out mist, making the dark clouds thicker and thicker. Low above the battlefield, the heavy rain poured down, and soon, the black water had covered Li Qingshan's feet. As if it had a life of its own, the black water surged towards him. Li Qingshan's body trembled. The black water surged into thousands of water droplets, flying in all directions. Demon eyes. The billowing demonic aura transformed into a giant battle armor that was 100 feet tall. The sharp horns on its head could almost touch the clouds. However, compared to the clumsy and heavy just now, it seemed to be slimmer. A demonic eye formed between the demonic armor's brows. A streak of demonic light shot into the clouds, searching for the black dragon. Suddenly, he saw the shadow of a dragon flash by, and he punched it. A large hole was torn open in the dark clouds, but the black dragon was nowhere to be seen. Si Qing remained hidden until the dark clouds had accumulated to the limit. The dark thunder rumbling in the clouds could no longer be suppressed. Suddenly, a dragon roar sounded. Die! With a flash of light, a bolt of lightning shot out, carrying with it the flames of vengeance. It bombarded Li Qingshan's head, and lightning flickered, turning into a net of electricity that weaved around his body. It disappeared in a flash. Li Qingshan's body turned numb. Dazzling lightning flashed before his eyes, and booms rang out in his ears. A series of lightning bolts struck down. The unraging monk frowned slightly. The 3 graves and 5 classics of the imperial family truly were extraordinary. It could even blast through protective formations with such power, and lightning was rather effective against demon qi. If he were a regular demon king, he would have died from being struck by lightning. Han Qiongji's eyes were filled with worry. However, she did her best to maintain her composure. Yu Bing stared straight at them, unable to take his eyes off of them. Yu Wuyang, on the other hand, sighed. The new had replaced the old. After all, they had both undergone the 3rd heavenly tribulation recently, but if they fought, he actually did not have absolute confidence in emerging victorious even though he was a great general. He used the opportunity to scold his son, Yu Bing. Are you still going to treat yourself as a genius and treat your cultivation lightly in the future? I won't. Yu Bing said obediently. He thought, since when have I treated my cultivation lightly? Am I not a genius with my current cultivation at such a young age? The 2 of them are just too monstrous, especially that Li Qingshan. I heard from Qiongji that he's only a few decades old. Is he the reincarnation of a celestial? The demon suppression tower on Li Qingshan's helmet pointed diagonally at the sky, basically becoming a lightning rod. The scorching lightning tore through the demonic armor, and the black water beneath his feet constantly surged up, eroding the demonic armor madly. Dragon cries rang out, filled with the delight of revenge. Si Qing powered the white lightning and black water, wanting to reduce Li Qingshan to smithereens. Only then would his hatred be appeased. Li Qingshan did not move at all, as if he had completely lost the ability to resist. He allowed the lightning to strike him as his lips curled into a smile. The reason why his demonic form was so stable was because he had not experienced the tempering of tribulation lightning, and the demonic power he had devoured from the various demon kings was not completely compatible. He had originally needed a lot of time to temper himself, but he did not expect Si Qing to take the initiative to help him, making up for this lesson. What else was there to say? He just had to stand there and take the lightning strikes. As for whether he would be struck to death, that was no joke. Even if he did not use the 9 transformations of the demon and god, his powerful physique was still here. Even if he took off his demonic armor, being struck by Si Qing for 100 years was nothing. Li Qingshan silently circulated the demon suppression statuary, and the mottled impurities in his demonic heart slowly faded under the tempering of the lightning. The demonic nature surged, but it was no longer the fighting spirit of the tiger demon, but the persistence of the ox demon, silently enduring the lightning strikes. His enormous body continued to shrink, and soon, he was less than 50 zhang in size. The black water quickly drowned him, forming a large black lake that submerged Li Qingshan's waist. The waves surged and slapped his body, but he was like a black reef, standing there without moving. A moment later, the black water had submerged his chest. Qingshan, hold on a little longer. The unraging monk thought. The lightning strikes had already begun to weaken. Without pills and spiritual stones, even Si Qing could not maintain an attack of this intensity for too long. Hold on a little longer. Si Qing gritted his teeth and gave it his all. Victory was right before his eyes. Li Qingshan had already reached his limit. He only needed to hold on for a little longer, and he would succeed. He would wash away his humiliation and reclaim the Azura field that belonged to him. However, Li Qingshan was thinking the same thing. Si Qing, hold on a little longer. The effects of the lightning refinement were quite impressive. This short period of time had saved him half a year at the very least. Li Qingshan's figure became smaller and smaller. A while later, a huge wave slammed down, completely swallowing Li Qingshan's figure. The rumbling thunder settled down, and the dark clouds began to disperse. The black dragon circled around the surface of the water a few times as he wondered, is he dead? Qingshan. Han Qiongji took a step forward, her face filled with concern. The Azura King glanced at her. What are you in such a hurry for, little girl? Your man has won. He's even stronger than I expected. He's won? Han Qiongji asked. Walala. A chain of demon suppression burst out of the water, wrapping around the black dragon's neck and pulling it down violently. The black dragon fell heavily into the water, and the lake churned violently. The dragon's tail would slap the surface of the water from time to time, kicking up huge waves. However, the dragon's head remained at the bottom the entire time. With a boom, the black dragon burst out of the water. As the water splashed into the air, Li Qingshan stood high above the dragon's head. His figure had returned to normal, and his demonic armor had fallen off. Layers of demonic glyphs crisscrossed his robust body. He gripped the chain of demon suppression in his hand like a rein, controlling the violent black dragon beneath him. Chapter 10-12. The black dragon let out a violent roar, shaking its head and wagging its tail. It wanted to shake off the chains of dispute and throw Li Qingshan off its head. The black dragon would sometimes dive into the lake and kick up a great wave. At other times, it would charge into the clouds and scatter the remnants of the clouds even more. However, Li Qingshan seemed to be nailed to his head, standing firmly on it. With a casual tug on the chain, the dragon's head was pulled to the side, and the pitch-black chain dug deeply into its flesh. Si Qing was utterly furious. Compared to the physical pain, he found the humiliation and despair even more unbearable. Suddenly, he bolted forward and slammed into the mountain. Boom! Dust surged, and the mountain trembled as if it was about to collapse. However, when the black dragon flew out of the dust, Li Qingshan remained standing on the dragon's head. As a matter of fact, his upright posture had not even changed at all. Boom! 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 The black dragon circled around the mountains, smashing through over a dozen mountains in a row. The mountains collapsed and the earth collapsed, falling into the deep, black water and kicking up great waves. However, a few more chains wrapped around the black dragon. Even twisting its body became extremely difficult, and the chains constantly tightened, radiating with a powerful demon-suppressing power. In order to control the lightning, the black dragon had already exhausted all of its mental and physical strength. After a moment of frenzy, it finally showed signs of exhaustion. Under the pressure of the chains, its body rapidly shrank until it reverted to human form. It fell onto the top of a mountain, right next to the highest peak where the unraging monk and the others watched the battle. Si Qing's hair was disheveled, and his dragon robes were in tatters. Blood oozed from the corner of his lips. He was in an extremely horrible shape, but he continued to stare at Li Qingshan with hatred and reluctance, like a wolf staring at the hunter outside the trap. At least that's more like it. Li Qingshan crouched down and stared at Si Qing. Demonic glyphs appeared all over his body, and demon chi rose up. He was more like a villain. Just who are you? Si Qing still struggled to believe everything that had happened. Me? I'm an obedient citizen of Great Xia, a loyal subject of your highness, the crown prince. Li Qingshan grabbed Si Qing's head and crushed it forcefully with his fingers. The sound of his skull shattering was accompanied by Si Qing's furious roar. If I don't get my revenge, I'll never forgive you. I swear I'm not human. The figure of a black dragon flashed, as if it had leapt into another space. It directly passed through the seal of the Azura field and flew towards the distant dragon province. Li Qingshan was surprised. He didn't expect his nascent soul to escape in such an unusual way. It must be a unique life-saving method of the crown prince of the great Xia dynasty. He clenched his fists in an instant. Just as he was about to unleash the shockwave, he thought for a moment and loosened his grip. If he exposed himself right now, he would have to take down the Demon Suppression Hall if he wanted to learn the 9th layer of the Demon Suppression Statuary. He still did not want to become enemies with the Chan Monastery of Devanaga, especially his master, the unraging monk. Si Qing's body had been destroyed by him. His cultivation would definitely be greatly damaged, and it was unknown how long it would take for him to recover. At that time, he could naturally crush him at will, and there was no need to rush. Li Qingshan wins. Yu Wuyang announced loudly. Li Qingshan picked up Si Qing's corpse and leaped to the highest peak. After being tempered by the lightning, there was no need for him to use the spirit turtle's method of sea suppression to suppress his demon heart anymore. He withdrew his demon chi and diluted the demonic patterns, but he still seemed rather mysterious. With a flash, the blood shadow blocked Li Qingshan's path. Surging murderousness surged towards Li Qingshan. You're called Li Qingshan, right? Are you bold enough to fight me? Not interested. Li Qingshan's eyes flashed slightly, and he constantly advanced forward. The Azura King's murderousness changed rapidly. It was as if it could attack at any time. To an Azura, there was no such thing as holding back. It would definitely be a fatal strike the moment it struck. However, Li Qingshan did not respond at all, as if he could not tell how dangerous it was. No matter how you change, I'll remain unfazed, brushing past the Azura King. A sliver of surprise flashed through the Azura King's eyes, but it did not take action in the end. Li Qingshan arrived before Gu Yenying and extended his hand. The spoils. Gu Yenying placed the 2 Sumeru rings in Li Qingshan's hand. They looked into each other's eyes, as if they had something to say to each other. Han Xiongji went up and hugged Li Qingshan. She said excitedly, "Fantastic. You've won." "It's a pity that bastard escaped," Li Qingshan said with some pity. The unraging monk said, "That's not necessarily a bad thing. Including Si Qing, there are only 3 great Xia crown princes. Their statuses can't be compared to regular great cultivators. Even if they die in battle, the imperial family of Great Xia might not just let the matter go." Li Qingshan smiled. In other words, it's still a win-win situation. I obtained the spoils, and he managed to escape with his life. What kind of win-win situation is that? He came to the Green Province in high spirits to collect his debt, yet not only did he end up giving up his Sumeru rings, but he was even almost beaten to death here. Yu Bing grumbled to himself. I still think there's something wrong with your demon suppression statuary. The unraging monk still did not understand. From how Li Qingshan behaved, he did not seem like he had fallen into the demonic path. Let's talk about these small matters in the future. Master, it's about time I spend some time with the madam. Li Qingshan wrapped his arm around Han Xiongji's waist, which made her blush slightly. Oh, my damned disciple. The unraging monk shook his head. All right, I'll wait for you at Great Buddha Mountain. The group left the Azura field and returned to the main hall of the Han estate. There's something else. Fellow Gu just happens to be here as well, so why don't we discuss it? Yu Wuyang said. What else? Didn't the great General King come for the Azura field? Li Qingshan smiled. That's just a private matter. You are indeed worthy of possessing an Azura field. Yu Wuyang remained calm. He no longer blamed Li Qingshan for his lack of respect. As a disciple of the school of the military, he followed the basic principles of the Azura realm. Powerful warriors were worthy of respect. Apart from that, there's also official business. The soaring Locust King's hatred for you runs extremely deep. Can you tell me the whole story? Li Qingshan glanced at the unraging monk, and the monk nodded. Actually, he was not too sure why the soaring Locust King held such a great grudge against Li Qingshan. Actually, it's nothing major. It's just that back in the demon suppression hall, he tried to fool me, so I scolded him. Li Qingshan gave a rough explanation of what had happened. I see. How bold of him. I think we can use this hatred. I'll be frank with you. You can become bait and draw out the soaring Locust King's original body. It's a private matter and official matter. None of them seem to be anything good. Li Qingshan said. Originally, this matter was very dangerous. I've been discussing it with your master to see how we can ensure your safety, but after seeing your performance today, the unraging master can stop worrying. He still needs to ask for your opinion, said Yu Wuyang. I don't mind. However, the soaring Locust King seems irascible, but he's actually cautious and paranoid. He won't fall for it so easily. Li Qingshan did not believe the soaring Locust King would be overwhelmed by hatred. Through the few short encounters he had with him, he could sense that there was a coldness akin to an insect beneath his irascible and easily angered appearance. Even if there's only a 10% chance, I still have to try it. Yu Wuyang said. Then I'll be waiting to be summoned at any time. In a certain glorious palace on the Dragon Plain, the figure of a dragon suddenly appeared on a majestic altar with 9 dragons carved on it. It gradually turned into a human figure, becoming translucent. Its expression was twisted from viciousness as it roared at the sky. Chapter 10:13. As Li Qingshan and Han Qiongji left the Han residence, snowflakes suddenly began to fall from the gloomy sky. What a scenery I haven't seen in a long time. Li Qingshan reached out to catch a snowflake. In the blink of an eye, the entire world seemed to have fallen silent. Where are we going? Han Qiongji asked. We'll follow your orders, madam. We'll go wherever you say. Li Qingshan smiled. Who's your madam? You seem to have forgotten something, Han Qiongji said. How could I have forgotten? However, the marriage proposal just now was a bit too hasty. After you've refined the wisdom fruit, I'll come back here again. Hopefully, your father won't object again. Li Qingshan turned back to look at the rich and powerful family behind him. What if he objects again? I'll beat him up. Li Qingshan waved his fist and grinned. Don't you dare. Han Qiongji widened her eyes and laughed. Then I'll have no choice. I'll use my fist. Han Qiongji gently held his hand. Since you're treating me as your madam, it doesn't matter if there's a wedding or not. Don't worry, there will definitely be one. Li Qingshan waved his hand and a cloud gathered under his feet. He carried them into the sky and flew into the distance. They intentionally didn't fly out of the cloud layer and traveled in the wind and snow. The snow was getting heavier and heavier, fluttering like goose feathers. The ground soon became pure white. Han Qiongji nestled in his arms. If only it could always be like this. There's still a long way to go. Li Qingshan said. Really? Stop trying to coax me. I'm not as easy to coax as I used to be. I feel like you're going to a very, very far place. Han Qiongji raised her head. Her beautiful face was filled with melancholy and her voice was so low that it was almost blown away by the wind. Li Qingshan was a little surprised. He had never clearly told her his identity, nor did he mention anything about the 9 heavens. I was right, wasn't I? Although I'm not very smart, I don't know why, but I feel like I can read your mind, Han Qiongji said proudly. I'll take you with me. Li Qingshan's heart softened. Han Qiongji pinched his mouth hard. It's better not to make promises that you can't do. In the past, you said that you would only take 1 ladle out of 3,000. Pfft. Don't slander me. I've been cultivating for 30 years. I'm as pure as snow. Why are you looking at me like that? Don't you believe me? Under Han Qiongji's gaze, Li Qingshan gradually lost his confidence. All right, I admit that I make some mistakes occasionally. Madam, please be magnanimous and forgive me. Humph, who wants you to apologize? You can do whatever you want. Han Qiongji suddenly pushed Li Qingshan away. Li Qingshan scratched his head, not knowing what to say. Who asked me to like you? I didn't expect to be with you for the rest of my life. I originally thought that I wouldn't be moved by any man. It was a blessing to meet one. I just didn't expect that we would be together for such a short time. I thought that we would be together for at least 100 years. Then, I couldn't stand your wanton behavior and kicked you away. Bastard, you didn't even give me this chance. Wouldn't I be unable to let you go? Han Qiongji's expression changed. Sometimes she was angry, and sometimes she sighed. As she spoke, her eyes turned red. However, the rims of her eyes reddened. After Li Qingshan demonstrated his true cultivation, she felt happy for him, but she also completely understood something. She could no longer keep up with him anymore. Qiongji. Li Qingshan was emotional. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't. Han Qiongji came to the cloud alone. She looked down at the pure white land and waited for his return. Perhaps it was hard, but there was still hope. Now, she had to watch him go further and further away, completely disappear from her world. What kind of despair was this? She wiped her eyes and looked back with a smile. Don't worry. Although I, Han Qiongji, can't be your cultivation companion, I won't be a burden to you. You have to try your best to go further. You have to be 100 times stronger than Si Qing. You have to make everyone look up to you. In the wind and snow, her figure was like a ball of raging fire, dazzling Li Qingshan. His heart was even hotter than when he was pained by Si Qing. Han Qiongji came to him, held his face, and asked, "Do you want me?" Although her pretty face was red, her eyes were still fixed on him. She said seriously, "Husband, I want you." Li Qingshan pulled her into his arms and kissed her red lips. They fell on the cloud together. The cloud surged and covered their bodies. The whole cloud also merged with the clouds and disappeared. He still remembered that when they first met, he didn't have a good impression of her. Even when he accepted her confession of love, he refused it half-heartedly. At that time, his mind was still full of Gu Yenying. It was only after a period of time that he developed such feelings. Among all the women he had seen in his life, she was not the most beautiful, nor was she the one who moved his heart the most, nor was she the one who helped him the most. When he thought about it carefully, even this feeling was strangely ordinary. Sometimes, it even gave him an illusion that he didn't transmigrate to another world, but was still in a certain university campus, talking about a calm love. There was neither the embarrassment and depression in the cowshed, nor the ups and downs after leaving the mountain. However, when he looked back, there was only this period of calmness that made him want to stop and not think about the aspirations of the 9 heavens. After a deep kiss, Li Qingshan undressed her and kissed her neck. His heart was filled with tenderness, and his actions were especially gentle. "Pa!" Han Qiongji slapped the back of his head. "What are you doing? I've never seen a woman as unromantic as you." Li Qingshan's eyes widened. "Humph, you've exposed yourself. Tell me, how many women have you done this to?" Han Qiongji said. Li Qingshan lowered his head and sealed her red lips with his mouth. He pulled hard with both hands, and with a rip, the red dress was torn apart. "My clothes," Han Qiongji said vaguely. Not long after, a soul-stirring low moan came from the cloud, and it drifted in the wind and snow. Several days later, in Han Qiongji's cave. "Do you think I'll become smarter after eating this thing?" Han Qiongji leaned lazily in Li Qingshan's arms, and raised the fruit of wisdom in her hand. Their bodies, Luo, were filled with a healthy and powerful sense of beauty, and they faced each other calmly without the slightest shyness. Is there anything wrong with that? Li Qingshan yawned. After a few days of entanglement, he was also a little tired. It wasn't because he was tired, because the divine earth power could maintain his physical strength forever, but because his mind was completely relaxed. You said you ate one, but I don't think you've become smarter, Han Xiongji said. Because I've always been smart. Of course, the effect isn't obvious, but it'll definitely be more effective if you eat it. Li Qingshan chuckled. Chapter 10:14. You're burning the bridge after you've outlived your usefulness. Li Qingshan said. So what if I am? I've already grown tired of using it. Piss off. Han Xiongji chewed on the fruit of wisdom as she kicked Li Qingshan away forcefully, but her movements gradually weakened. Light flowed through her eyes, and the fruit of wisdom began to take effect. So dizzy. I wonder what will happen to me. Han Xiongji sighed with a smile. I don't want to see you again when I wake up. This isn't a place you should be. Let's go, let's go. She murmured like that before finally closing her eyes and collapsing into Li Qingshan's arms. Li Qingshan embraced her tightly reluctantly. After quite a while, he kissed her forehead gently and patiently helped her put on her clothes, tidied up her hair, and placed a formation, a few bottles of virtue accumulation pills, and a stack of violet talismans beside her. These were all spoils of war he had obtained from Si Qing's Sumeru ring. He paced around the dwelling a few more times before suddenly shaking his head with a smile. He muttered to himself, I'll be back, no matter how long I'll be gone. Afterwards, he stepped out of the dwelling and vanished into the whistling wind and snow alone. Yeah, I'll be waiting for you. Han Xiongji closed her eyes and said with an almost undetectable voice. Li Qingshan remembered that there was still a person he had not seen on his return to the Green Province this time. He heard from Lu Changqing that he had already lived in seclusion for many years, so he made his way through the wind and snow and arrived in a tranquil mountain forest. Unlike other places ravaged by the locust plague, this place was still lush with vegetation, and the lake was tranquil. It seemed particularly clean and beautiful in the snow. Danqing, are you there? Li Qingshan called out. A while later, the formation opened up, revealing a few elegant huts. A handsome man in green clothes stood in front of the huts. Qingshan, you've returned from the Mist Province. You've undergone the second heavenly tribulation. Li Qingshan was slightly surprised. In order to repair the Three Absolutes calligraphy for him, Chu Danqing's cultivation had regressed to Qi practitioners in the past. He never thought not only would his cultivation recover completely after 20 or 30 years, but it had even improved. His bearing became even more refined. You've passed the third heavenly tribulation. Chu Danqing was even more surprised. After tempering his demon heart, Li Qingshan no longer used the spirit turtle to suppress it. The aura he naturally gave off was clearly at the third heavenly tribulation. Looks like we didn't waste any time, Li Qingshan said with a smile. I really don't know how you cultivate. It's simply unimaginable. Don't stand in the snow. Come in and have a seat. There's nothing to sit in the house. Why don't we go there and admire the snow? Li Qingshan pointed to the lakeside. There was a simple pavilion covered with thick grass. It was a good place to admire the snow. All right, I just happen to have a jar of good wine. Let's drink wine and admire the snow. Let's get drunk together. Chu Danqing was also in high spirits. The two of them sat down in the pavilion, and Chu Danqing took out a scroll. With a shake of his hand, the scroll unfurled, and maids walked out of it one after another, some carrying zither. Some held a fire, and in the blink of an eye, the pavilion was set up properly. A few red-crowned cranes flew out of the painting and danced on the lake in the snow. It was natural without any pretense, perfectly blending into the surrounding scenery. It was like a freehand painting of mountains and rivers. There were also a few zither notes. It was like a cold spring that was soaked in ice and snow. It was refreshing, and for a moment, it was like an immortal's realm. Your methods as an artist sure are useful. Even I find it hard to tell the real from the fake. At first glance, Li Qingshan could not tell the real from the fake. He sighed inwardly. After so many years, Chu Danqing's painting skills have become even more exquisite. It's still not as good as the school of novels materialization. But looking at your cultivation, it doesn't seem like you have anything to do with the school of novels, Chu Danqing said modestly. The world is always unpredictable. By the way, don't tell me the wine you're treating me to is also a painting? How could that be? Chu Danqing said as he took out a blue and white porcelain jar and opened it. A fragrance rushed out of the jar and spread in the cold air, but it was different from the usual wine fragrance. Li Qingshan looked into the jar and saw the black liquid rippling in it. Only then did he come to a realization. This is ink. Don't tell me you're treating me to ink. This is Danqing wine. I usually can't bear to drink it. Chu Danqing said. Don't tell me this was brewed with your blood. Li Qingshan remembered that Chu Danqing had a special bloodline called vermilion blood. He could not help but feel suspicious. He had already drunk the blood of a friend and did not want to drink a second. I can't brew such wine. Come and have a taste. Chu Danqing ordered the painting beauties to pour the wine. When the wine entered the goblet, the fragrance became stronger. It was like ink, but not ink, like wine, but not wine. Li Qingshan tried taking a sip, and his eyes lit up. The fragrant and unique taste spread in his mouth. Wherever the wine flowed, the flesh there seemed to melt. It was not spicy, but it was even more spicy. It also contained an extremely pure spiritual energy. It was definitely not just for satisfying the taste. He drank the wine in the goblet in one gulp. His organs seemed to have turned into a mass of chaos. He closed his eyes and savored it for a while, refining the wine. Just now, he praised, good wine. How is it? I didn't lie to you, did I? Chu Danqing slowly savored the wine. No wonder your cultivation speed is so fast. Where did you get this wine? Li Qingshan asked curiously. However, even a great cultivator at the third heavenly tribulation might not be able to drink this level of spiritual wine, and Chu Danqing said that he did not brew it himself. My master gave it to me. Respect from the bottom of his heart appeared on Chu Danqing's face. Master Chu left it to you? Li Qingshan asked. However, Chu Shidao had only been a foundation establishment cultivator his entire life. No, it was another master. You've taken on another master. I wonder what kind of senior and expert he is. Li Qingshan was rather surprised. He understood Chu Danqing's feelings for Chu Shidao. He would never take on someone else as his master so easily. Master will probably come today. You'll know when you see him. Then I'd like to see him. Come, cheers. Li Qingshan suppressed his curiosity and chatted with Chu Danqing, telling him about the various wondrous sights in the Mist Province. Chu Danqing became fascinated too. In the future, I'll definitely travel around and paint all the sights of the 9 provinces. You've been staying here all these years? Yeah. Master told me to focus on cultivation and painting. I can even only see those old acquaintances from the 100 schools of thought every once in a while. They've taken my paintings to deal with the locust plague. No locusts have come to disturb you? Li Qingshan asked. This place was deep in the mountains and forests, but it was not exactly remote across the entire Green Province. There were actually no signs of locusts gnawing through the surroundings at all. The soaring locust king probably hasn't reached here yet. You sure are fortunate to be able to avoid the various battles and live in seclusion here. As Li Qingshan said that, he suddenly sensed something and looked over. Before he knew it, a figure had appeared on the shore nearby. He wore black robes that gave off a faint indigo hue. The long hem and sleeves of his robes dragged across the pure white snow like the remnants of a weasel's brush on a piece of paper. It was impossible to make out his face in the wind and snow. All he knew was that he was a slender man, holding an oil paper umbrella that was as red as a maple leaf as he walked over slowly. "My master is here." Chu Danqing stood up to receive him. In the blink of an eye, the man arrived in front of the pavilion. Li Qingshan looked at him carefully. The man's face was lean and elegant. His eye sockets were deep and his nose was high. His thin lips were pursed, and his thick black hair was curled messily down to his waist. For some reason, Li Qingshan thought of the frustrated poets in ancient poems. There was an air of desolation about him that came from the winter snow, but brought with it the entire late autumn season. As for his specific cultivation level, it would be overlooked. Even if one wanted to distinguish it, it would be blurry. Compared to the maids in the pavilion, he was more like a man in a painting. Li Qingshan suddenly noticed that his eyes were blank. There were no pupils. He thought to himself, is he blind? No, with my eyesight, I can even see a mosquito from 10 miles away. How can I not see his face clearly because of the wind and snow? "Master, this is the Li Qingshan I mentioned before," Chu Danqing introduced. "It's an honor to meet you." The man lightly shook off the snow on his umbrella. He did not seem surprised by Li Qingshan's cultivation level. Or perhaps he was too frustrated and tired that he became indifferent to everything in the world. "May I ask for senior's name?" Li Qingshan asked with his hands cupped. He felt strange. They had never met before, so why did he feel a strange sense of familiarity? "Mo Wuhan." The man nodded slightly, still a man of few words. The surname Mo doesn't seem very common. Chapter 10-15. "Not too many," Mo Wuhan replied indifferently. Mo Wuhan replied indifferently. He looked at Li Qingshan with his pupilless eyes. "Have we met before?" Although his eyes were pupilless, they were different from the deathly white of a blind person. Instead, they were more like the blanks in a painting. They contained a boundless and profound space, reflecting everything in the world. Li Qingshan suddenly felt like he was naked in a world of ice and snow, with nowhere to hide. The pair of blank eyes looked through his body and soul, searching for something. He almost instinctively used the spirit turtle's method of sea suppression to dispel this feeling. He smiled. "Probably not, or I would definitely have a deep impression of it." Although Li Qingshan had a guess, he was not certain. After all, the guess was just too shocking. How could it be so coincidental? And, it really did not feel like it. "Probably," Mo Wuhan said. Before he knew it, the crane's cry and the zither music had settled down. Only the snow rustled down. The two men studied each other, confirming a certain suspicion in their hearts. Although they both found this suspicion rather unbelievable, they had an extremely subtle connection. The threads of fate that had once been severed began to intertwine once more in that moment. "My master has been in seclusion for many years, so it makes sense that you don't know him, Qingshan." Chu Danqing sensed the difference in the atmosphere. As he mediated, he accepted the red umbrella from Mo Wuhan's hands and invited him into the pavilion. "Fellow Mo, you've heard of my name before?" Li Qingshan turned around and sat down. Before he knew it, he no longer referred to him as senior. "Li Qingshan. That's a good name." Mo Wuhan sat down as well. His long robes and sleeves trailed down, and his long hair almost reached the ground. "Qingshan, I've mentioned you to my master quite a lot." Chu Danqing did his best to ease the atmosphere. "I think it's a good name as well. Why must one bury one's bones in mulberry fields?" "Life is full of green mountains," Li Qingshan recited slowly. "That's a good poem." Mo Wuhan seemed to be slightly surprised. "Qingshan, I still didn't know that's where your name comes from." Chu Danqing said. I wonder which line the name Wuhan comes from. Li Qingshan fiddled around with the wine cup. It's just an empty reputation. There's no poem worth mentioning. Mo Wuhan said. What a pity. Li Qingshan shook his head and sighed. Was it a false name or a fake one? Suddenly, he said, I remember a line from a poem. A person is like an autumn swan coming with a letter, matters are like a spring dream ending without a trace. A person is like the autumn swan that comes with a letter, and matters are like a spring dream that ends without a trace. Mo Wuhan recited in a low voice, as if he was immersed in a poem. Qingshan, it has been many years since we last met. Not only has your cultivation improved greatly, but you've also become a great poet. How disrespectful of me. Chu Danqing said in surprise. In his impression, Li Qingshan had nothing to do with the word refined. Why did his temperament suddenly change today? Moreover, his master was also a little unusual. Don't forget, I'm a disciple of the novel school. Li Qingshan smiled and said to Mo Wuhan, it's our first time meeting, so I didn't prepare any gifts. I'll give this poem to you as a greeting gift. At least I didn't drink this cup of Danqing wine for nothing. Your gift is very elegant. Chu Danqing said with a smile. But when he heard Mo Wuhan say, I won't accept it, his expression stiffened as he looked worriedly at Li Qingshan. Why not? Li Qingshan was not angry or surprised as he slowly tasted the Danqing wine. It's a good poem, but it doesn't fit the theme. At this time, there is no autumn swan, and there is no spring dream. Mo Wuhan looked at the endless snow outside the pavilion. That's true. Li Qingshan strolled to the side of the pavilion and thought for a while. Then how about this one? 1,000 mountains with birds flying, 10,000 paths with no trace of people, a lone boat with a straw hat fishing alone in the cold river. Good poem. Chu Danqing praised, Qingshan. I couldn't tell that you had such literary talent. You're too kind, too kind. Li Qingshan sniggered. Although it fits the theme, it has nothing to do with Wuhan. Mo Wuhan pondered for a while and then denied it, causing Chu Danqing to be at a loss. He did not know that his master had suddenly become so picky. It was as if he was purposely looking for trouble with Li Qingshan. It won't be without a trace in the first place. Things said and done will always leave behind some traces. As a matter of fact, even those things that we thought we've already erased might jump out again one day, Li Qingshan said meaningfully. If I can erase it once, I can erase it twice. It's not a big deal. Mo Wuhan changed the topic. I have a gift that I like on you, but I don't know if you are willing to part with it. What do you want to keep? Just tell me. Li Qingshan opened his arms. 3 Absolutes calligraphy. Li Qingshan's eyes flashed, and he could not help but look at Chu Danqing. I'm sorry, Qingshan. Master asked when he was helping me heal, Chu Danqing said apologetically. When he met Mo Wuhan in the past, he had not fully recovered from the injuries he had sustained from repairing the 3 Absolutes calligraphy. Not only did Mo Wuhan heal him, but he also displayed extraordinary painting skills, which made him decide to take him as his master. It's okay, it's a small matter. Li Qingshan did not mind. He and Chu Danqing were only friends, which was a level lower than a master-disciple relationship. Moreover, Chu Danqing had always respected his master, so he naturally would not lie to his master. Moreover, he had even exposed the Azura field, so he did not care about this small 3 Absolutes calligraphy. But it's a pity that this 3 Absolutes calligraphy is not in my hands, and I will not give it to others. Where did you get it? Mo Wuhan did not ask where the 3 Absolutes calligraphy had gone. He only asked where the 3 Absolutes calligraphy had come from, which confirmed Li Qingshan's guess even more. As a result, he said, a good friend gave it to me. What's the name of your good friend? North Moon. Li Qingshan nodded. His eyes under his thick eyebrows stared at Mo Wuhan before him. Don't tell me it's that North Moon that the Dragon King of the Sea killed in the Mist Province. Chu Danqing said in surprise. He stumbled over his words and glanced at Mo Wuhan subconsciously. Li Qingshan understood even more. He then asked, Fellow Mo, do you know a good friend like me? I do. Mo Wuhan did not hide anything. Li Qingshan suddenly began laughing aloud. His laughter broke the silence, and he stopped probing around. He pressed his hands against the stone table and leaned forward, staring straight at Mo Wuhan. He said straightforwardly, Fellow, are you perhaps the Dragon King of Yingxi? I am, Mo Wuhan said indifferently. Master, Chu Danqing was rather surprised. Actually, after spending so many years together, he had already vaguely guessed Mo Wuhan's identity. There was not a single great cultivator in the world who was nameless. However, since his master refused to mention it, he could not pry too much as his disciple. May I ask what poem the name, North Moon, comes from? Mo Wuhan asked. It's just an empty title. There's no poem worth mentioning. Li Qingshan lifted up a cup of alcohol. His eyes suddenly turned scarlet red as he stared at Mo Wuhan. Let the North Moon offer a toast to the Dragon King. A pair of pitch-black pupils suddenly condensed in Mo Wuhan's blank eyes. They were not human eyes, but dragon eyes that radiated with endless dignity. They looked down on all life, looking down on everything. Chapter 10:16. Master. Qingshan, Chu Danqing stood up helplessly. The two of them had become strangers. They were so close, yet they could not touch each other. Li Qingshan's right fingertips grew sharp claws. He smiled and revealed his fangs. The bronze wine goblet passed through the cold air and slowly moved towards the Dragon King of the Sea. Chu Danqing seemed to hear the hollow echoes of the air shattering. With every inch the wine goblet moved forward, it grew larger. How was it still a wine goblet? It was clearly a mountain forged from bronze. It whistled down from the sky, and the cloud patterns engraved on it had also turned into an overwhelming cloud layer. Dong! The Dragon King of the Sea raised his cup and the two goblets clinked. Chu Danqing's ears seemed to be struck by thunder. He was dazed for a moment. There was no bronze mountain peak and dark clouds above. The wine goblet was still the wine goblet, held in Li Qingshan's hand. The wine in the goblet rippled. The Dragon King of the Sea's eyes flashed with surprise. Hum! An invisible force surged and swept away the snow in the sky. The maids and white cranes disappeared. The wind also calmed. The world was silent. Li Qingshan drank all the alcohol in the goblet in a single gulp before casually tossing the goblet backwards. It turned to dust in the air. Awesome! The Dragon King of the Sea covered his face with his long sleeves and drank slowly. Finally, he put down the goblet gently. The moment it left his hand, there was a crack and a deep crack appeared on the goblet. You've become stronger. Well said. But you shouldn't have returned to Qingzhou. Is that so? I had no intention of killing you again. But maybe this is heaven's will. Wrong. Wrong? Absolutely wrong. Bullshit. First, you didn't kill me, whether you admit it or not. You were tricked by me. Second, this isn't some bullshit heaven's will. It's my, Li Qingshan's, decision to settle things with you. The Dragon King of the Sea pondered. Makes sense. That's why I have to kill you once to put an end to this. Then come. Li Qingshan's red eyes widened like a ferocious tiger. He waved his hand and slashed horizontally at the neck of the Dragon King of the Sea. No, Chu Danqing still wanted to stop him, but the Dragon King of the Sea shook his sleeves. He flew out of the pavilion and took the umbrella from the man's hand. He unsheathed his 3-foot sword and blocked the tiger's bite. His movements were as smooth as moving clouds and flowing water, not tainted by fire or smoke. Chu Danqing flew in the air. There was no sound of swords clashing, but the roar of a tiger and a dragon could be heard. The roar continued to rise, reaching beyond the 9 heavens. Widening his eyes, he looked at the grass pavilion. There were no silhouettes of the two, only dragons and tigers. Not bad. The Dragon King of the Sea stared at Li Qingshan. He seemed to be surprised that he had grown so much in such a short period of time. How about this? Li Qingshan asked. He gripped the hilt of his blade with both hands and swung as hard as he could. The sword suddenly bent, unable to withstand the tremendous force, and deflected. The Dragon King of the Sea's eyes shone with blood-red light. He leaned back, and the blade swept past his face, but a strand of dark hair flew into the air. Boom! A streak of blood-red light rushed out of the pavilion, destroying everything in its path like it was nothing. The frozen lake shattered, and the mountains split apart, leaving behind a terrifying gash over 3,000 meters long on the ground. Li Qingshan grabbed the strand of hair and sniffed it gently. He said from the bottom of his heart, "Now this is revenge." Anger flashed through the Dragon King of the Sea's eyes. The strand of hair suddenly twisted and turned into several dozen strands of pitch-black sword chi, shooting towards Li Qingshan's face. Every single strand was like the full strength of a great sword cultivator. Suddenly unleashed at such a close distance, even a demon king would have to suffer. Spirit Turtle's profound shell, final radiance of the setting sun. A hexagonal mirror appeared before Li Qingshan, reflecting the sword chi back. It turned back into strands of hair in the air and merged with the Dragon King of the Sea's long hair. Break! Li Qingshan bellowed out and unleashed the tiger demon's fierce roar. Fierce winds surged and condensed. This move was abrupt, and it had once directly shattered the 9-headed king's head. However, the Dragon King of the Sea's figure suddenly vanished without any prior signs. Li Qingshan felt a hand press against his back, and the Dragon King of the Sea's voice rang out from behind. End it! He immediately erupted with devastating, terrifying power, but under the Dragon King of the Sea's control, it seemed to flow smoothly and soundlessly. From the outside, it was as natural as ink seeping through a piece of paper. You're still far from it. Li Qingshan stood as still as a mountain. He suddenly looked back, and his scarlet eyes shone like fire. The Dragon King of the Sea felt a barrier that isolated his power. Instead, a tremor came from Li Qingshan's body and spread to his whole body through his hand. Ox Demon's Tremor. Boom! The ground cracked, and the cracks spread out in all directions. The grass pavilion was shattered and scattered. The Dragon King of the Sea's figure flashed into the air. He looked at his right hand, and there was a hint of surprise in his eyes. There was a fine scar on his pale palm, and black ink flowed from it. Not only did this palm not kill Li Qingshan, but it also injured him. He had almost forgotten how many years it had been since he had such an experience. Moreover, the feeling of power coming from Li Qingshan's body was definitely different from before. However, this was not an injury to him. In fact, it was not an injury at all. He recovered with a wave of his hand. He looked down at Li Qingshan. What was his background? Li Qingshan stood on the cracked ground. The skin on his back had turned green, and there was a black handprint on it. Although he had been chased by the Dragon King of the Sea for thousands of miles, the actual battle had only lasted for a moment. To put it simply, he had been killed instantly. He did not have an accurate understanding of the Dragon King of the Sea's power. It was only at this moment that he deeply felt the power of the Dragon King of the Sea. If it was not for the ox demon forges its hide, not only would his flesh and blood be rotten, even his tiger bones would be damaged. Moreover, the Dragon King of the Sea had not even revealed his true body. The shadow of death shrouded him, but his blood boiled and became scorching hot. Compared to trash like Si Qing, this was the opponent he wanted. Even if the enemy was strong, even if he was at a disadvantage, how could he know the outcome of life and death without a battle? Demon eyes. The demonic aura around Li Qingshan's body exploded, turning into a hideous demonic armor. He waved his tiger teeth and pointed it at the sky. Come, Dragon King of the Sea, let us settle this today. Don't think about escaping. If you can't kill me today, you won't have the chance in the future. Even if you hide back in the Ink Sea, I will definitely find you. Escape? For the first time, the Dragon King of the Sea showed an expression similar to a smile, showing his arrogance. Li Qingshan held the hilt of his blade with both hands and swung it diagonally behind him. He suddenly opened his wings of wind, and the ground suddenly caved in to form a huge pit. A red light soared into the sky. He waved the blood-colored blade and attacked the sky. The Dragon King of the Sea flicked the tip of his sword and let out a series of dragon roars. He did not bother to move or dodge. He pointed his sword at Li Qingshan, and it fell from the sky like a black meteor. Chapter 10:17. Master, Qingshan, don't. Chu Danqing's voice was drowned out by the deafening roar. A wave of air surged out, whistling through the clouds, and a brilliant ray of light shone down from the sky. Fierce winds followed closely behind like a typhoon, lifting up the thick layer of snow and revealing the yellow-brown ground. Chu Danqing flew up like a fallen leaf. He originally wanted to try and stop this battle, but seeing this scene, he no longer had such an extravagant hope. Borrowing the wind, he flew back to the cave abode and supported the formation to resist the aftermath of the battle. His heart was filled with bitterness. Which of these two men would listen to advice? Qingshan, I can't save you anymore. Chu Danqing was extremely regretful. He should not have told the Dragon King of the Sea about the Three Absolutes book. The Dragon King of the Sea was in existence who had been famous in Qingzhou for thousands of years. No one would think that the inexperienced Li Qingshan could compete with him. Like two meteors colliding, the intense confrontation gave the illusion of stagnation. The heaven and earth were also dyed black and red. The blood-red saber aura and the black sword qi clashed continuously. One was fierce and blazing, pressing forward with indomitable will, the other was majestic and ever-changing. At the same time, they collapsed and shattered inch by inch. Waves of air roared and swept out, and the hole in the clouds kept expanding. The heaven and earth turned into a stormy sea. The calm lake surface stirred up monstrous waves. Trees were uprooted and blown away by the wind like straws. The formation of the cave abode was also on the verge of collapse. Chu Danqing looked at the terrifying scene of the end of the world and felt extremely shocked. This was the scene of a battle between top experts. What was even more unbelievable was that Qingshan could actually fight against Master head-on. Li Qingshan's red hair flew in the air as he frowned. The Dragon King of the Sea was indeed powerful. His swordsmanship was the same as the swordsmanship contained in the Three Absolutes book. However, when he wielded it, it had an incomparable spirituality that a transcendent artifact could not compare to. He could master it and change it freely. The sword qi was like silk, entangling the blood-red saber aura. The violent saber aura seemed to have fallen into a net and was quickly worn down. Li Qingshan, the gap between us cannot be made up with strength alone. You're still too young. The Dragon King of the Sea looked down at Li Qingshan. Streaks of black sword qi directly passed through the saber energy and attacked Li Qingshan. They were as mysterious as the horns of an antelope, leaving streaks of black marks in the air. He easily tore apart the demonic armor. If not for the ox demon forges its hide. He was about to be tortured to death. He still has the strength to speak. Li Qingshan was astonished. He understood that his saber technique was not just a level lower than the Dragon King of the Sea's swordcraft. He could only chop off a strand of his hair. It was probably because he was too careless. Even though it was said that one person could defeat 10 people with absolute strength, that was based on the premise that one's strength was sufficient. It was possible to bully someone like Xi Qing, but there was no way he could subdue an existence like the Dragon King of the Sea. He wanted to use all his strength, but he felt as if he had nowhere to start. Even the all-conquering power of vibration could only cause waves of sword chi to surge. If this went on, he would definitely lose. Tiger Demon's Fury, break. Li Qingshan let out a tiger roar and gave up all defense. The sword chi took the opportunity to enter. Blood splattered all over his body, and his wounds were so deep that his bones could be seen. But he did not seem to feel anything. In his eyes, there was only the existence of the Dragon King of the Sea. He broke through the layers of sword chi and slashed at his head. The Dragon King of the Sea was surprised for a moment, but he immediately regained his composure. He said calmly, "You used too much strength." Then he disappeared. Seeing that his saber had missed, Li Qingshan's eyes widened. The muscles in his arms tightened, and he forcefully twisted the saber's edge. It drew a crescent arc and slashed to his side. The Dragon King of the Sea's slightly stunned face was reflected by the saber light. He did not expect Li Qingshan to be able to determine the position he moved to. Was it just luck? Clang! The saber and sword clashed. Their gazes met, and sparks flew. The sword trembled rapidly, nullifying the power from the blade. After thousands of clashes, they overlapped and turned into a strange, clear hum. The clouds in the sky were swept away, but the fierce wind immediately settled down. Large trees fell down, but they were suddenly reduced to dust, scattering through the air. In the Rui Commandery, the great general, Wang Yuwuyang, was currently looking at a map, planning how to set up a trap to kill the soaring Locust King. Suddenly, his ears twitched, and he stepped out of the door. Gazing into the distant horizon, he exclaimed in surprise, "What a powerful aftershock! Who's fighting?" He took off into the air. Countless cultivators had sensed this battle between dragons and tigers. Only great cultivators who were confident in their own strength flew over. Who knew how many years it had been since a battle at this level had occurred? The Dragon King of the Sea glanced at it from the corner of his eye and furrowed his brows slightly. With a flick of his finger, a droplet of ink flew out. Li Qingshan's eyes lit up. Suddenly, he saw an opening. With a violent flap of his wings of wind, he turned into a scarlet streak of light and shot past the Dragon King of the Sea's side. The tip of a sword flew out as it spun. A horrific slash appeared on the Dragon King of the Sea's abdomen, basically splitting him in half. Thick ink surged in an attempt to repair it. The scarlet streak of light turned into an arc and returned with a flash. Li Qingshan pursued the Dragon King of the Sea, refusing to give the Dragon King of the Sea any time to catch his breath. However, he was also rather confused over why the Dragon King of the Sea would suddenly do something so pointless. It was no wonder he was up to something. He followed the droplet of ink that had flown out and gazed over. The residences and thatched cottages that Chu Shidao had left behind had already vanished, reduced to dust. Chu Danqing covered his ears and knelt on the ground. His face was filled with pain as blood oozed out from between his fingers. He had already been injured by the shockwaves of the battle. The droplet of ink landed on his body and turned into a black sphere, enveloping him within. Li Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. He stopped moving, his expression fluctuating. "What's wrong? Why are you hesitating? You won't be able to maintain this state for long." The Dragon King of the Sea held the broken sword in his hand. His expression was still calm, as if he hadn't been hit at all. He looked at Li Qingshan with disdain. "It's nothing." Li Qingshan casually slashed at himself, leaving behind a horrifying wound that was identical to the one on the Dragon King of the Sea. "I'll return this strike to you. Let's continue in another place." He wasn't the kind of person who was overflowing with sympathy, nor did he care about hurting a few innocent people. He wouldn't even think about fighting a fair battle with the Dragon King of the Sea. Instead, he wholeheartedly wanted to join hands with Little N to slay the dragon. However, he would never use the safety of his friends to create an opening to attack his enemy. This was where his pride lay. The Dragon King of the Sea re-examined Li Qingshan and asked, "Do you really want to kill me?" "Of course. You can't kill me here. It's the same in another place. Even if I stand still and let you slash me 100 times, 1,000 times, I won't die," the Dragon King of the Sea said. "Then stand still." Li Qingshan waved his sword and pointed at the Dragon King of the Sea. He couldn't stand this kind of pretentiousness the most. The Dragon King of the Sea ignored him. He flashed to Chu Danqing's side and patted his back lightly. Chu Danqing spat out a mouthful of blood. His complexion instantly became much better. He said, "Master, stop fighting. There's no grudge that can't be resolved." "Shut up," the Dragon King of the Sea said to Li Qingshan without turning his head. "Of course, you won't be easily killed by me. Once you're no match for me, you'll run away. There's no point in continuing the fight." "I'll run away. Then may I ask how I can kill you?" "Lord Dragon King," Li Qingshan asked mockingly. "If you're not afraid of death, come to the painting tomb. Only there will you have a chance to kill me," Floating Heaven said. Chapter 10:18. No matter how one looked at it, it seemed like a trap disguised by a clumsy provocation. However, the Dragon King of the Sea's expression was calm as if he was stating a simple fact. Li Qingshan actually believed his words. He might not be a real dragon, but he had the pride of a dragon. He didn't want to play such tricks, so he praised, "Would you immortal really drew the charm of a dragon?" The Dragon King of the Sea's expression suddenly changed. Even when Mou was killed and Li Qingshan slashed him, he still had a deep indifference. However, at this moment, he seemed to be really angered. He stared at Li Qingshan and said, "You deserve to die just because of this." Li Qingshan thought, as expected. "Whether I deserve to die or not doesn't depend on words. Don't worry, whether it is the ink sea or the painting tomb, I will go when the time comes. However, I won't be the only one coming. Today is also your only chance to kill me. I don't care if you have hundreds or thousands of people." The Dragon King of the Sea flicked his sleeves and left. He put one hand on Chu Danqing's shoulder, and the two disappeared at the same time. Li Qingshan thought for a while and suddenly felt something. He murmured, "There are so many meddlesome people." He also restrained his aura and jumped into the ground. As soon as the front foot left, several powerful auras flew over, startling the few of them. What a powerful destructive power! The clouds in the sky were swept away, and the forest was razed to the ground. The remaining demonic chi in the world was frighteningly thick. The two parties fighting had disappeared, which made them a little disappointed. After greeting each other, they each used their divine senses to explore. It wasn't a good thing for them. Moreover, the existence of this realm. Even if the result of a battle couldn't affect the world, it was enough to affect the overall situation of a province. Yu Wuyang thought, "This demonic chi seems to be different from ordinary monster kings. One of them is the Dragon King of the Sea. Who is the other one? He actually fought with the Dragon King. Furthermore, he was not killed on the spot, so he is most likely a greater demon monarch." Although he hoped that it was the soaring Locust King who had a falling out with the Dragon King of the Sea, the possibility of this was not high. It was likely that it was a great demon king from another state, possibly one of the 72 demon kings. Deep underground. Li Qingshan looked at Tiger Fang in his hand. An eye-catching chip appeared on the bright red blade, once again reminding him of the power of the Dragon King of the Sea. Although he had grasped the flaw and broken the Dragon King of the Sea's sword, he had paid a huge price. Don't think that it was just a small gap. However, it directly destroyed the entire structure of the Azura divine weapon. As a result, its might and sturdiness had decreased significantly. If he were to clash with someone as strong as the Dragon King of Ink Sea, it might even become a fatal weakness. although it could be repaired slowly with blood. However, Li Qingshan had already made plans to switch to a different weapon. The blade was more suited for crushing the weak, not against powerful opponents. In particular, it seemed extremely powerless against an opponent without a bloodline like the Dragon King of the Sea. Just now, if he continued fighting, the blade would definitely break. With my current strength, I can take out an even more powerful Azura divine weapon from the Azura altar of armaments, but where can I find a large number of weapons to sacrifice? Li Qingshan thought about it as he sheathed his blade. In order to obtain Tiger Fang, he had already sacrificed all the weapons he had accumulated over the years. If he wanted an even more powerful weapon, he would need even more and better sacrifices. Whatever. I'll go back and find Little N first. Li Qingshan rapidly moved through the tangled underground caverns, flapping his wings and constantly accelerating. He returned to the territory of the Clear River Prefecture very soon. Suddenly, he recalled the adventures he had gone through here in the past and could not help but smile. I wonder how the Golden Cicada Spirit King's plan to ascend is going. He even said he wanted to give me a gift. I wonder if this gift can assist me in slaying a dragon. He turned around and arrived deep underground. In the old cobweb city, the carvings left behind by the night roamers had already been completely covered by crisscrossing spider silk. It had become a true spider's nest. Li Qingshan sucked in a deep breath. The permeating demon qi contained a familiar cruelty and viciousness. It was much more powerful than before. As it seemed, she had not wasted her time. Thinking about the beautiful memories of the past, he knocked on the wall with a smile. Little Lolf, are you there? His voice echoed through the cavern, stirring up the trembling of the spider silk. In the blink of an eye, the trembling sounds became one. At the center of the massive spider web, a giant cocoon wrapped in spider silk suddenly split open. 8 ghostly green eyes lit up in the darkness. North Moon. Helicoverpa Rosa emerged afterwards. Her bewitching face was filled with joy as she quickly made her way towards Li Qingshan. Her pitch-black dress trailed behind her, as if she was about to float away. Li Qingshan stepped onto the long bridge of spider silk and received her. He opened his arms and gave her a hug. You've undergone the 3rd heavenly tribulation too. Did you know? I've always been waiting for you. I've been waiting for you to become my food. Helicoverpa Rosa's smile suddenly became vicious and vicious. She bit Li Qingshan's neck. She had already waited far too long for this moment. She was eager to see him wail and beg for mercy. Does it taste good? Li Qingshan asked. Helicoverpa Rosa's expression changed drastically. She realized that her sharp fangs couldn't pierce through his skin. The power coming from his arms was getting stronger. She immediately used her supernatural power to turn her skin silver. However, she was shocked to find that she couldn't stop the arms that were gradually closing in. She suddenly remembered the first sentence he said when they met. You've undergone the 3rd heavenly tribulation too. Could it be that he had become a demon king? Stop it. We just fought with the Dragon King of the Sea and didn't gain any advantage. I'm not in a good mood. At this moment, men are prone to violence. You really have a bad memory. Dragon King of the Sea. Helicoverpa Rosa was shocked. She raised her head and stared at Li Qingshan in disbelief. She had been in Qingzhou for many years and knew how terrifying the Dragon King of the Sea was. Even if she had become a demon king, she wouldn't dare to fight with the Dragon King. She was so shocked that she even forgot the pain in her body. By the way, I seem to have told you that if you dare to attack me again, I'll kill you. I almost forgot. So you should just die. Li Qingshan's eyes narrowed and he suddenly exerted force. Helicoverpa Rosa let out a sad cry. The bones in her body made a sound of twisting. She wanted to use her new supernatural power after becoming a demon king, but under the gaze of those red eyes, she felt that she couldn't resist. She didn't dare to resist. And until this moment, he still didn't release any demonic aura. She hadn't seen him for decades. What kind of monster had he become? She suddenly remembered what the Golden Cicada Spirit King said after she successfully passed the heavenly tribulation. At that time, she only wanted to wash away the shame and kill and devour him. Lolth, although you've become a demon king, if you see him again one day, don't ever attack him. Otherwise, even I won't be able to save you. Remember this. Awoo. A tiger's roar was full of violence. A small figure pounced out of the giant cocoon. Where did this little demon come from? Li Qingshan casually grabbed the figure's neck. It was a little girl with demonic aura all over her body. She wore clothes woven from spider silk. Her eyes were wide open and her expression was very fierce. She struggled with all her might in his hand. He also noticed that this little girl had a faint tiger's tail on her face. Behind her was a curled tiger's tail. Her red eyes were even more familiar. He couldn't help but let out a cry of surprise. North Moon, if you want to kill me, then kill me. But even a vicious tiger won't eat its cubs. Li Qingshan waved his hand. Helicoverpa Rosa flew backward. She tore apart countless spider silk and slammed into the rock wall. However, she felt relieved. She felt as if she had just survived a disaster. At that time, when the fetus in her belly moved, she had wanted to directly kill it. It was the Golden Cicada Spirit King who dissuaded her. He said to her, "Don't underestimate this child. Raise her well. In the future, she might save your life." The little girl was startled. She had never seen such a terrifying guy before. However, she stared at Li Qingshan without showing any weakness. Li Qingshan stared at the little girl. He felt that she had the same aura as Helicoverpa Rosa. However, there was another kind of aura that was more powerful and violent. Moreover, it was very familiar. It was the aura of the tiger demon. In addition, there was a feeling that they were connected by blood. Their fates were interlinked. There was no longer any doubt in his heart. However, he still felt that it was a little unreal. This little girl is my daughter. Li Qingshan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had just promised Han Qiongji that he wouldn't have any children outside of marriage. Then, one popped out. Moreover, it was born from this annoying Helicoverpa Rosa. This was simply a huge joke. That's right. She is your biological daughter. The Golden Cicada Spirit King's voice sounded in his mind. There seemed to be a hint of a smile in it. Is this a surprise? Li Qingshan exhaled and let go of the little girl's neck. He knelt on one knee and looked her in the eye. He asked, "What's your name?" "Go to hell. You have a personality. Just like me." Li Qingshan's eyes focused. He released the aura of the tiger demon and asked, "What's your name?" I'm called Tiger Girl." The little girl felt an instinctive reverence. The man in front of her gave her a special sense of familiarity. A blank expression appeared on her face. She looked at Helicoverpa Rosa for help. "Do you know who I am?" Li Qingshan pointed at his own nose. "Who are you?" The tiger girl asked in a crisp voice. "I'm your father." Li Qingshan laughed. "I'm your mother." The tiger girl said angrily. "Motherfucker." Li Qingshan raised his hand and gently patted her head. "You still don't know anything, so I'll spare you this time." He shouted at Helicoverpa Rosa. "Explain to her clearly. Teach her some manners." Helicoverpa Rosa sneered without saying a word. Li Qingshan pointed at his feet. "Get over here immediately. Don't think that I won't kill you just because you have this talisman." Helicoverpa Rosa walked over and brought the tiger girl to the side. "Don't blame her. She's violent and easily angered. It's hard for me to resolve it with my dharma," the Golden Cicada Spirit King said. She only inherited the tiger demon's bloodline. Li Qingshan slightly muttered. The several bloodlines in his body were merged into one by relying on the 9 transformations of demons and gods. Moreover, there were many conflicts between them. It was reasonable to only inherit one bloodline. However, Helicoverpa Rose's cruelty and viciousness combined with the tiger demon's violence and fierceness made it hard for a good child to be born. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. She has her own path to walk. She's already very lucky compared to ordinary monsters. You haven't ascended yet. Chapter 10:20. Li Qingshan smiled and said, "My assistance is very impressive. The Clam King of Mirage Sea ascended as soon as she saw me, and the Banyan Tree King became a god not long ago. You found the right person to look for me." "Hee, I believe so." "Do you know the Soaring Locust King?" The Golden Cicada Spirit King asked. Huan Qingzhou doesn't know. I have a deep grudge against him. When I transcend the tribulation and ascend, he will definitely come to ruin it. I need you to protect me. You too have a grudge. Li Qingshan was very perplexed. The Golden Cicada Spirit King and the Soaring Locust King were both demon kings of the 72 paths, and they were both insects, so why would there be grievances between them? And even if there was a grudge between them, with the cautiousness of the Flying Locust King, he would not take the risk. He had humiliated the Soaring Locust King in the prefectural city of Clear River, yet the Golden Cicada Spirit King did not come in person for revenge. The Golden Cicada Spirit King was one of the peak demon kings of the 9 provinces. You might not know, but we were originally good friends. His imprisonment in the demon suppression hall of the Chan Monastery of Devanaga was all my scheme. The baby-like voice of the Golden Cicada Spirit King drifted, as if he was recalling the distant past. Betrayal. Li Qingshan finally understood. No wonder the Golden Cicada Spirit King was so sure that the Soaring Locust King would come to sabotage his plan. This hatred was as deep as the mountains and as deep as the seas. If he was the Soaring Locust King and had been suppressed for thousands of years, he would not have been able to tolerate the people who betrayed him and ascended to the heavenly realm so easily. Even if he knew the dangers involved, he would not have been able to tolerate it. He would definitely have tried to stop them. Compared to that, being insulted and killing a few clones wasn't a big deal at all. That's right, I was the one who tricked him into the demon suppression hall. Afterwards, your identity was exposed, and you were expelled from the monastery? Yes. Why bother? Li Qingshan frowned. If he had not been expelled by the Chan Monastery of Devanaga, the Golden Cicada Spirit King would have been able to learn the chant of Devanaga. Perhaps he would have undergone the tribulation and ascended a long time ago. I have no other choice. The Golden Cicada Spirit King sighed, but his mind was as firm as ever. Even if he had to choose again, it would still be the same. Since that's the case, why don't you go to another place to undergo the tribulation? Aren't you friends with the Tree King? With him watching over you in the Mist Province, even the Soaring Locust King can't stand you. I had no choice. Why? Because I am a Buddhist disciple. I cannot allow him to slaughter the common people. More important than jumping out of the well. Li Qingshan looked surprised. Twice he gambled on his path of cultivation. She didn't hesitate to betray her good friend just to stop him from slaughtering the humans. This was a great love that transcended race. Even human cultivators would not risk their lives to fight the Locust King for the sake of mortals. You don't have to think so highly of me. If he ignored it, it became a demon in my heart. On the contrary, it was not conducive to transcending the tribulation and ascending. Of all things in the world, only the heart cannot escape. Since he had a merciful heart, he could only do merciful things. That's why I said I had no other choice. The Golden Cicada Spirit King's voice was calm. He did not resent the Chan Monastery of Devanaga's expulsion, nor did he possess the pride of a hero. It was as if he was doing something that went without saying, Li Qingshan was in awe, not because of the compassion of the golden cicada spirit king, but because he had no other choice. He had only been driven by his heart all his life, disregarding all the advantages and disadvantages, calmly accepting all fate. "All right, I'll lend you a hand." "Thank you," said the golden cicada spirit king. "I won't be leaving the Green Province anytime soon. Let me know when you ascend, and I'll rush over immediately." "Oh right, where's my gift?" "You'll only have it when the time comes, but since you've come, I'll give this blade to you." A streak of golden light flew out of the magma, passing through the earth. Li Qingshan extended his hand and grabbed the cold light, waving it around. It was an unsharpened blade. It did not have any unnecessary decorations, but it seemed simple and solemn, possessing a Buddhist nature. Holding it in his hand, even his mind became solemn. It was an extremely rare Buddhist treasure. "This is my blade. When I first came to the Chan monastery of Devanaga, I originally wanted to secretly learn the Buddhist cultivation method and strengthen my cultivation. If I had the opportunity, I wanted to destroy the Chan monastery of Devanaga and deal a heavy blow to the human cultivation community of the Green Province. However, as my cultivation gradually deepened, I began to hesitate. My master gave this blade to me. This blade isn't used for clashing with others. Instead, it's used for calming the mind and severing worries, so it's called pettiness severing." "What a good name." Li Qingshan raised the blade, and the golden light illuminated the cavern. Even without the suppression of the spirit turtle's method of sea suppression, his demon heart became calm. From the perspective of cultivation, pettiness severing was even more valuable than tiger's fang. Unfortunately, it was not particularly useful to him. Since he had no regrets in his demon heart, all he could do was walk this path to the end. Compared to severing his worries, he wanted to kill powerful enemies more. "Pettiness severing." Helicoverpa Rosa exclaimed in surprise. Having followed the golden cicada spirit king for many years, she obviously recognized the blade. She never thought the golden cicada spirit king would actually give it to Li Qingshan. Thinking back to the terrifying strength he had demonstrated just now, his thoughts of revenge gradually faded. Demons worship the strong. He had already proven his strength. As a result, he walked over with the tiger girl. The tiger girl looked up at Li Qingshan. Her little face was filled with reluctance, but after being glared at by Helicoverpa Rosa, she still called out crisply, "Father." Li Qingshan's heart skipped a beat. This was different from having an adopted son. This was his bloodline. His blood flowed through this little girl's body, so he naturally felt a sense of affection for her. He glanced at Helicoverpa Rosa. "You've taught me well. I'll spare your life this time." "I won't attack you again," said Helicoverpa Rosa. "Whatever you want." Li Qingshan turned to the tiger girl and said, "Although I'm your father, I can't give you anything other than this bloodline. You have to walk your own path in the future. I don't want you to give me anything. I'm very strong myself," said the tiger girl. "Is that so? As expected of my daughter." Li Qingshan smiled slightly. With a clang, he pulled out the tiger's fang from his waist. Together with the severing vexation, he hung them in front of the tiger girl. "Choose one." These two blades were not something she could control right now. Her temperament would definitely be greatly affected. She would not only choose the blade, but also the path of her life. If she chose the severing vexation, she could inherit the golden cicada spirit king's Buddhist wisdom. She would gradually restrain her temperament and no longer be violent and easily angered. But if she chose the tiger's fang, she would embark on a path of Azura. She would fight and slaughter to the end, completely activating the tiger demon's blood in her body. Before Li Qingshan finished speaking, the tiger girl pounced forward and grabbed the tiger's fang. Then, she returned to her original position. Her eyes sparkled as she played with the severing vexation, lovingly like a child who had obtained her favorite toy. "Didn't you say that you don't want my things?" Li Qingshan smiled as he sheathed the blade. The scabbard personally made by the banyan tree king naturally changed shape and swallowed the severing vexation into the scabbard. The tiger girl blushed and pouted. I didn't ask you for it. You were the one who insisted on giving it to me. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.